Chapter 797. What? Fighting disciple. Our child is still so young. That's right. What kind of rules are these? They're simply fooling around. Hearing the discussions at the side, Yi Hua knew that there was a benefit to choosing a student this way. The main point was not to look at the student's ability to win against a fighter, but rather, it was to look at the student's talent. Yi Hua said in a low voice, "Ali God Yi, please restrain yourself later." Yes, I know, Dad. Although Yi Hua's voice was very soft, it was still heard by the people in front and behind him. At the same time he thought to himself, this person really knows how to act tough. To ask such a young child to show mercy, it would be good if other Do fighters showed mercy. Dong Huangli was still very interested. However, God Yi, who was at the side, had a stern look on his face. He wasn't interested at all, he's too weak. Only a Do disciple. Playing with a Do zone was fine. Seeing that Dong Huang Baiji was unhappy, Yi Hua lightly kissed onto his wife's cheek. Alright, don't be too sad. Yi Hua's movements seemed very normal. But in the eyes of these people it was different. In the Kangluo continent, it was no different from the ancient times. It was a complete loss of morals. Furthermore, you kissed such a beautiful woman in front of us. This was intolerable. Even if she's your wife, you can't act like this. If this wasn't the foot of the Jade Mountain, I would definitely kill him. I hate men who put on airs like this the most. So what if you have a beautiful wife? Look at how cocky he is. I want to stamp a shoe on his face. Ali, Dong Huang Baiji called out gently. Mom. Dong Huangli stretched out her hand and held onto her mother's hand. Yi Hua shook his head. Seems like Dong Huang Baiji is a little angry. The speed of the procession was very fast and so were the people going down the mountain. Most of them were bringing their children down the mountain. It seemed that the proportion was very high. Gradually, Yi Hua finally arrived at the platform in front of the Jade Vein Peak. Behind the platform was a huge signboard. Jade Vein Peak. The three large words carried with them a powerful pressure. With one look, one could tell that it was not an ordinary item. It must have been written by an expert. As long as they could step through the gates of Jade Vein Peak, they would bring honor to their ancestors. At least that was what everyone thought. There were three old men sitting on the high platform silently watching the scene. In the field, a 10-year-old child was competing with a 5-year-old child who was a bit shorter. To be precise, it wasn't a contest. Before the fight even started, the 5-year-old child was scared to tears. Then it was the next one. The strength of a Do disciple standing in front of the children was very frightening. This was reasonable, but the requirements to enter the sect were indeed much higher. In the past, it was only a test of talent. Yi Hua looked at the children who were crying and leaving one by one, then shook his head. I'm afraid that I won't be able to receive more than a few children in a day, right? Very soon they arrived at Yi Hua's house. Which one of you wants to go first? Yi Hua asked lightly. His calm demeanor made people feel that his child could easily win. Why would he ask who would go first? His opponent was a 10-year-old fighter. It was terrifying. Sis, you go first, God Yi said calmly. Dong Huangli spread out her hands. Alright, big sister will give you an example. Everyone, this girl was quite pretty, but why did she like to brag? Even the three old men sitting on the high platform paused for a moment. This girl was a little interesting. They didn't know if she had any real skills or not. Dong Huangli directly walked towards the platform and looked at the boy who was in front of her. While looking at Dong Huangli, the young man's face was a bit red. What a beautiful girl, it seems like in the entire Jade Vein Peak, there isn't another girl like her. She is even more beautiful than a celebrity. That's right. The 10-year-old genius fighter Mu Gao was someone who had been reborn. His golden finger was unknown. Dong Huangli sized up the boy in front of her, then said faintly, "Come on, don't look at me like an idiot. No matter how much you look at me, I won't be yours." Mu Gao. Hearing Dong Huangli's words, Dong Huangli felt that Dong Huangli was really hot. Dong Huangli, I can't afford to offend her. This girl isn't bad. She isn't afraid in front of Mu Gao, said an old man on the platform. Yeah, looks like he's quite something. Actually, you just have to look at your parents to know whether or not you have any material. The three elders nodded their heads. From Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji's looks, it can be seen that this girl is definitely someone with great potential. Mu Gao cupped his hands towards Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli had no choice but to follow Mu Gao and cupped her hands towards Mu Gao. Be careful. Mu Gao said in a deep voice. Dong Huangli laughed lightly. The one who should be careful should be you. Right after Dong Huangli finished speaking, Dong Huangli's delicate body disappeared. Afterward, Mu Gao felt a stifling sound coming from his chest, and he was forced to take a few steps back. The entire audience became deathly silent. This girl actually pushed down a fighter. How is this possible? The three elders on the viewing platform suddenly stood up and mumbled, "This girl actually has the strength of a fighter. How is this possible? In the entire Kangluo continent, such a thing has never happened before." However, such a thing happened in front of their eyes. This made the three elders feel as if they were dreaming. Mu Gao looked at Dong Huangli, who was on the stage, blankly and was a bit absent-minded. "I actually lost to a girl, she is so formidable." Yihua shook his head and told Ali to keep a low profile, but in the end, just who did she learn from? She just likes to act cool. "God Yi, don't learn from your sister," Yihua warned. "All right." Dong Huangli. Along with an elder's announcement, Dong Huangli could be considered to have passed. Dong Huangli bowed towards the surrounding audience and thanked them. "This is too easy, so boring. If only Yenner was here, I would be able to act cool together with my big sister. I would be so happy." An elder could be seen walking over and said with a smile, "The two of you must be Dong Huangli's parents, right?" Yihua nodded his head. Dong Huang Baiji held on to her daughter's hand with a look of reluctance on her face. "The two of you can be at ease, we have a family visit day every year, and you can come into the sect to see your child. You don't have to worry about your safety, no one will dare to cause trouble in Meridian Break sect." After hearing that, Dong Huang Baiji became happy, then said in a low voice, "I will leave my child in your hands then. Don't worry, Dong Huangli is a good seedling, we will definitely focus on nurturing her." The elder said with a slight smile. He felt that Dong Huangli would definitely enter the sect in the future. "Little brother, what are you still standing there for? Go." Dong Huangli looked at God Yi and shouted out. The elder immediately became confused. "You want your son as well?" "That's right," Yihua said faintly. Looking at God Yi, the elder felt that this child is probably only around 5 years old, right? This is his big sister, it seems like his little brother won't be too far off either. Jade Meridian Peak's luck is pretty good today, to be able to find 2 rising stars. However, I still have to give it a try first. God Ye's expression remained unchanged as he walked onto the stage. Mu Gao stabilized the aura within his body, then walked onto the stage at the same time. However, God Ye did not feel anything at all. This action of God Ye caused everyone to be stupefied. The big sister is so formidable, but why is the little brother so monstrous as well? The expressions of the 3 elders immediately became strange. This was a kind of shock. End of this chapter. Chapter 798. Because God Ye was only 5 years old. A 5-year-old was actually able to face the aura released by a fighter. Never seen before. In fact, the 3 elders just wanted to see how long the child could last under the aura of a fighter before accepting him. Mu Gao's gaze gradually became serious. "This boy who is half my age is very powerful. Although I don't know how powerful he is, Mu Gao feels that he is very powerful. Admit defeat, you are not my opponent," God Ye said faintly. Dong Huangli was stunned. Since when did my own younger brother learn to act so pretentiously? He is even more powerful than Yen'er? Dong Huang Baiji said, "Look, the children are all learning from you." Yihua was speechless. When everyone heard God Ye's words, they were all confused. The older sister is powerful, but the younger brother is also powerful? Could it be that everyone in this family was awesome? Will you die if you don't brag? Mu Gao felt that he was an expert, the youngest expert in the entire Jade Vein Peak. Although he is that big sister's younger brother, it is time for him to show his strength. The one who should admit defeat is you. Watch my fist. Mu Gao roared. The aura of a fighter exploded, raising a cloud of dust. However, God Ye looked at Mu Gao coldly. "You don't know what's good for you." God Ye took a step forward and shouted. Boom. The aura of a fighter exploded, and Mu Gao, who was rushing over, was instantly blown away, knocked onto the stairs and fainted. At that moment, the entire Jade Vein Peak was silent. Yihua shook his head. Dong Huang Baiji stretched out her hand and pinched her husband. "Look at what you have taught the children." Dong Huangli felt that there was hope. "I didn't expect that Ice brother also likes to act cool. It can't be helped, acting cool is hereditary." The 3 elders on the viewing platform didn't know what to say. A 5-year-old fighter. Am I blind or what? Did you pass? God Ye raised his head and asked faintly. One of the elders immediately said, "Passed. Passed." The people who were waiting in the queue couldn't believe it. This pair of siblings both passed, so powerful. God Ye slowly walked back as if it was just a small matter. Yihua patted his son's head. This little fellow really opened my eyes today. Dong Huangli stood beside her brother and said, God Yi. Big sister, what is it? God Yi asked softly, his tone was much gentler. In the future, big sister will bring you along to act cool. Dong Huangli said with a smile. God Yi said helplessly, Sister, I don't like to act cool. I don't know what acting cool is either. Dong Huangli stared blankly at her younger brother. Your pretentiousness has reached such a level that even big sister can't compare to you. Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji both laughed. What God Yi said isn't wrong at all. You have to listen to me. There's no room for negotiation. Sis. God Yi knew it would be like this. It was a real headache, but he still had to listen to his sister's words. Dong Huang Baiji squatted down and lightly hugged the children. Mommy won't be by your side, you two have to take care of each other, do you understand? God Yi, you have to protect your sister. Ali, you too. Don't let your brother be bullied. Yes, Mom and Dad, don't worry. I will definitely protect my little brother. I will protect my sister as well. Yi Hua nodded his head. This is my good child, go on, study well. Dong Huangli held onto God Ye's hand, then waved towards her parents. Dad, Mom, Ali will miss you too. I will miss Dad and Mom too. Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji sent off the children with their eyes as they walked into the Jade Vein Peak. Dong Huang Baiji immediately snuggled into Yi Hua's embrace and started crying. All of the parents present were able to understand Dong Huang Baiji's feelings. Yi Hua comforted Dong Huang Baiji lightly, then let out a light sigh. After supporting Dong Huang Baiji down the mountain, they went to a place where there was no one around and disappeared. Yi Hua was preparing to go and see how Qingya was doing. The deity institution was different from Broken Meridian sect. The deity institution was located in Minglan communal country, and it was the most unique existence in the entire Kangluo continent. However, the Radiant Mist communal country was also the largest country in the entire Kangluo continent. Yi Hua sent a message to Qingya, and after knowing that the exam was still going on, he decided to bring the pitiful Dong Huang Baiji over. Baiji, don't cry. Look at the surrounding people's gazes, it seems like I am bullying you. Yi Hua felt dizzy. You still haven't bullied me? Yi Hua wo? Dong Huang Baiji lightly pounded on Yi Hua's chest, as if she was massaging him. Yi Hua said tenderly, All right, my darling, I beg you, can you do it? Ooh, you can call me little fairy then. Yi Hua. Baiji, you are already the mother of 2 children, and you still want to call me little fairy? Are you trying to make me laugh to death? Yi Hua was truly amused by his wife. Little fairy, haha. This is too funny. Seeing that her husband was actually laughing at her, Dong Huang Baiji snorted, then walked forward by herself. Upon seeing that, Yi Hua immediately pulled his wife into his embrace. Little fairy, don't be angry anymore, alright? I don't want to talk to you anymore. Dong Huang Baiji said angrily. Seeing that his wife's mood became a lot better, Yi Hua became slightly relieved. Looking at the surrounding buildings, he asked, Do you think our territory is better or this place? Dong Huang Baiji gradually calmed down and said tenderly, This place is filled with a simple and unadorned aura. Our territory is just like a newborn that lacks time to sink. Yi Hua nodded his head. Some things cannot be settled with money, they need to be polished with time. Very quickly, the husband and wife arrived at the recruitment location. Brother-in-law, over here. Qing Yutong could be seen standing at the entrance and waving her hand as she shouted. Looking at the lively Qing Yutong, Yi Hua directly held onto her little hand, then walked into the examination hall of Deity Academy. Outside the examination hall, there were many parents who were waiting anxiously. Qingya. Yi Hua immediately saw Qingya, who was waiting anxiously. Yi Hua. Qingya hurriedly walked over and lightly snuggled into her husband's embrace. The surrounding men seemed to be about to spit fire. Just now, I felt that it was strange, why aren't there any men beside those 2 beauties, but there are children beside them? Look at this. This man is holding onto one with each hand, and he is even hugging onto another. If this isn't showing off, then what is he doing? I have never seen such a shameless person, to actually have 3 such beautiful wives, this is simply illogical. Yi Hua asked lightly, Where are Yen'er and Lu'er? They have already entered the examination hall. Qingya said lightly. Qingya was very nervous in her heart, not knowing if her children would be able to pass the examination. Brother-in-law, have Ali and God Yi passed the examination? Qing Yutong asked curiously. And they have all passed the examination, so we came over rather quickly. Yi Hua said. Dong Huang Baiji asked curiously, Over there they are competing in martial strength, what is Qingya competing in here? Qingya said worriedly, I heard from them that they seem to be competing in willpower, but I don't know what it is. All of them have entered a small room by themselves, and their results will be displayed on the stone tablet. End of this chapter. Chapter 799. Yihua looked towards the stone tablet. On the stone tablet, there were around 100 names, but Yi Yan and Yi Lu's names were nowhere to be seen. "Qinya, don't worry," Yihua consoled. Who knew that Qinya would say angrily, "These two little fellows, if they don't get a good result today, see how I'm going to take care of them. It's not even on the list yet." Qin Yutong spread out her hands. Big sister is not worried about the separation at all, rather she is worried about the children not doing well in the exam. Yihua thought that Qinya was feeling sad, but who would have thought that she was actually worried about her results? All of Baiji's children had passed the exam. If her children failed, it would be so shameful. It would be strange if Qinya wasn't anxious. "Qinya, don't be anxious. Yen'er and Lu are so smart, they will definitely be able to pass the exam." Donghuang Baiji walked up and consoled Qinya. Yihua straightforwardly leaned on the side and carried Qin Yutong into his embrace. He wasn't worried about his own child in the slightest. They are definitely pondering over this matter, and I will be able to see the results in a while. However, Yihua's actions once again caused the men to spit out fire. He is actually hugging one of his wives and leaning on the side while the other two wives are talking. I have seen dissolute men before, but I have never seen such a dissolute man before. How did these beauties fall for this kind of man? Suddenly, the black stone tablet flashed and the golden words slowly shifted. Qinya stared fixedly at the stone tablet while grabbing onto Donghuang Baiji's hand. Looking at Donghuang Baiji's expression, it seems like Donghuang Baiji's hand is in pain. "They're out. We're out," Qinya shouted excitedly. "He's out?" The sentence is so confusing. Yihua looked towards the stele. Right now Yi Yan and Yi Lu appeared at the lowest position of the stele. As long as their names appeared on the stone tablet, they would be accepted. This was only the beginning. Yi Yan's and Yi Lu's names suddenly rose like a rocket. "Ah, my Yen'er and Lu, a good job," Qinya shouted out excitedly. Actually, this was also Yi Yan and Yi Lu's first time taking an exam, so it was normal for Qinya to have such a reaction. In the blink of an eye, Yi Yan and Yi Lu's names appeared at the top. The first and second place were occupied by the two little fellows. However, the crowd discovered that the first and second place alternated, as if they were fighting for the first place. Donghuang Baiji could be heard saying lightly, "Yen'er is pretty good. You play with Ali every day, but I didn't expect that your martial arts didn't fall behind in the slightest." After hearing what Yihua said, a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yihua's mouth. Could it be that my child would be bad? My child is born to be a cheat, there is no need for any explanation. When everyone saw that the first two were both surnamed Yi, they were all very surprised. The third place could not be shaken at all. Was the steel broken? After a long time, the infernal judge finally appeared. "The examination has ended." Yi Yan's name was at the top, and Yi Lu was second. The two little fellows appeared very quickly. Yi Yan had a confident smile on his face, while Yi Lu seemed very normal with a cold and arrogant aura. He did not feel much about the second place result. It was normal for his brother to be stronger than him. "Lu, Yi Yan called out with a smile. Yi Lu called out obediently, "Brother?" Yi Yan patted his sister's shoulder. "In the future I'll protect you and bring you along to show off." Brother Luer knows how to act tough herself. "Yi Yan, how can I do that? When we are outside, the eldest brother is like a father, you have to listen to me." Yi Yan held onto his sister's hand and walked towards his parents with large strides. Yi Lu had a gloomy look on her face. "Who asked me to have such a biological brother? I still have to listen to my brother." "Daddy, Mommy, Yen'er and little sister didn't lose face for you too, right? The two of you are great, Mommy loves the two of you to death." Qinya squatted down and kissed onto the cheeks of the two children. Yihua let go of Qin Yutong and walked over slowly. "Yen'er Luer, study hard in the future, alright?" "Daddy, we understand." Sensing that the children were about to leave her, Qinya's expression immediately became bad. Immediately, Qinya hugged onto her children and cried softly. "Children who are on the list, please follow me. Parents, please stop." The infernal judge shouted out again. "Mommy, we have to go," Yi Yan said reluctantly. Qinya let go of her children reluctantly. "Take good care of little sister, alright? And Mommy, don't worry, Yen'er will definitely take good care of little sister." After Yi Yan finished speaking, he patted onto Yi Lu's head. Yi Lu said obediently, Mommy, don't worry about us, take good care of yourself. And Mommy will miss you too. The two little fellows kissed onto their mother's cheeks, then shouted out towards their father, Daddy, we won't disappoint you. With a smile on his face, Yi Hua nodded his head, I look forward to your performance. Yi Yin held onto Yi Lu's hand and waved his hand, then left with the infernal judge along with the other children. Seeing that the children had left, Qinya immediately pounced onto Yi Hua's embrace and cried bitterly, just like how Donghuang Baiji did just now. Big sister, they will be able to take good care of themselves. Qin Yutong consoled Donghuang Baiji in a low voice. However, when Qinya cried like that, Donghuang Baiji also thought of her own children, and thus she also cried into Yi Hua's embrace. Meanwhile, Qin Yutong was also infected by the atmosphere and started crying as well. The three beautiful women all leaned onto Yi Hua's embrace and cried bitterly. Yi Hua was also very helpless. I didn't want to flaunt, it was them who forced me to flaunt. I, the Supreme Overlord, feel disdain to flaunt my love. Brat, I have long been sick of you. A man could be seen standing out with a righteous expression. Yi Hua remained silent. As a man you actually bully a woman, before the man could finish speaking. The three women in Yi Hua's embrace could be seen shouting out in unison, What does it have to do with you? I just like to cry, so what if I like to cry? The man went into a daze for a moment, then turned around and left. I can't afford to offend them. Yi Hua consoled, Alright, calm down. Let's go out and take a stroll, alright? Let's go and buy some delicious food, 3 fairies? Qinya hammered Yi Hua, What fairies, do you think we are little girls? What fairies? I'm getting goosebumps just by hearing that. Yi Hua couldn't help but laugh. Baiji, did you hear that? I'm getting goosebumps just by hearing that. Donghuang Baiji's tears turned into laughter. Annoying. So what if you call me fairies? I like being a fairies the most. The husband and wife walked out of the examination hall while laughing. Only by walking out of the examination hall would they be able to relax a bit and not think about their children. The four strolled around Bright Mist Communal Country for a while, and Yi Hua was also reminiscing about the past. Back then I also clamored outside of Bright Mist Communal Country. I didn't expect that I would have the chance to come in and take a look. Interesting, I wonder if those old friends of mine are doing well. How about we go to Aluo River to play? Yi Hua said lightly. This was also something that he had planned out beforehand. After sending off the children, it was time for him to do his own things. The 3 wives were naturally obedient to Yi Hua. The 4 found a place with no one around, then instantly arrived at Aluo River. Qin Yutong left Yi Hua's embrace, then opened up her arms and shouted out, Wow, the air here is really good. End of chapter. Chapter 800. The 4 of them stood on a plateau. Not far away from them was the legendary Aluo River. The water surged endlessly. However, a burst of cursing broke this quiet scene. Brother-in-law, quickly come and look, there are people fighting over there. Qin Yutong was the first to see, and at the side of Aluo River, there was a group of people bullying a person. Qinya took a glare at her little sister. Yutong, why are you still calling brother-in-law brother-in-law? Can't you call husband? Big sister, aren't I already used to calling you that and I can't change it? Qin Yutong pouted her mouth. I only have this little bit of excitement and I have to exploit it as well. Qinya was angered quite badly. Yi Hua lightly hugged onto Qinya. Alright Qinya, let her do as she pleases. Are you really going to spoil her like this? Qinya said petulantly. Yi Hua pinched onto Qinya's little butt. Didn't I spoil you too? The 2 of you, can you stop acting so flirtatiously? It's still broad daylight. Donghuang Baiji, who was standing at the back, said. Yi Hua turned his head around and said with a smile, Baiji, it's not like we haven't done it before in broad daylight. Brother-in-law, quickly come over. Qin Yutong immediately flew over and she was truly like a heroine. The 3 of them shook their heads and followed him at a moderate pace. At the Aluo River, more than 10 youths were chasing a man. Don't let Wani escape. Today we're going to throw him into the Aluo River. The young man behind them had an ominous glint in his eyes. It didn't seem like he was joking. The young man running in front was quite handsome, but his handsome face was solemn. Are you guys sick? All I did was sleep with Oiran Queen. Is there a need to be so inhumane? Wani bellowed at the people behind him. These were a group of second-generation rich kids from the Azure Dragon Empire. Because Wani had won the bid last night, these people were not convinced, so they tied Wani up in the morning and prepared to throw him into the Aluo River. F***ck. You still have the cheek to say that. Everyone kill him. Perhaps it was because his body was weak and he was gradually being caught up. However, at this moment, a rainbow light descended from the sky and landed between the two sides. What if I accidentally fall? And the 10+ youngsters also stopped their footsteps, then looked at the fairy in front of them dumbfoundedly. So beautiful. Is this a fairy that has descended to the mortal world? Qing Yutong stroked her delicate hands and looked at the 10+ youngsters in front of her. To actually bully a single person, if you have the ability, then fight me one-on-one. Just when Qing Yutong was about to open her mouth to lecture them, the 10+ people in front of her all knelt down with a plop. Qing Yutong was stupefied. Fairy sister, please accept our worship. More than 10 people stood up and shouted, Fairy sister. Qing Yutong's expression eased up quite a bit. At least you two have good eyesight. All of you get up. Qing Yutong said faintly, and she gave off a very fairy feeling. Thank you, fairy sister. At this moment, Wan Yi also hurriedly crawled up, then kneeled in front of Qing Yutong and cried out, Big sister fairy, save me! They are taking advantage of their numbers to beat me up. Bullying with numbers, this is the natural order of things. Qing Yutong said slowly. Wan Yi? Weren't they here to save him? Why? Fairy sister is right. The dozen or so young people were happy when they heard that. It turned out that they were not here to save Wan Yexiao. Qing Yutong said faintly, so you two can fight one-on-one, I will be the judge. Wan Yi felt that it was better for him to run away. This fairy is here to harm me. At this moment, Yi Hua brought Qing Ya and Dong Huang Baiji down from the sky. The moment the three of them arrived, they immediately let out a strange aura. Seeing that something was wrong, the dozen or so young people immediately broke into a run, wishing that they could grow another leg in the middle. These women are indeed good-looking, but that man is very fierce. If you want to run away or even want to call those people back, please bring me along, I beg of you all. Yutong, what are you doing? Yi Hua asked gravely. Yutong is good at everything, just that she likes to play with Yizizi. Qing Yutong pouted her mouth and stood at the side, not saying anything. Qing Ya knocked on her little sister's forehead. Originally, I thought that as a wife my little sister should be able to calm down a bit, but who knew that it was completely useless, not calm at all, and even act like a child. Only Yi Hua is able to endure it. To be more precise, he is able to cure it. Big brother, can I leave now? Wan Yi asked carefully. These 4 people don't seem to be easy to mess with. Yi Hua took a look at Wan Yi and felt a bit puzzled. This young man actually has the strength of a Dodosher, and just now he was actually chased by a group of ordinary people. This is a bit interesting, he is even hiding his strength. No. Yi Hua said faintly. Wan Yi immediately put on a long face and asked carefully, Big brother, if you want to rape me, I will definitely refuse. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched. My 3 wives are all as beautiful as goddesses, and you still want to rape me? Is your brain filled with muddy water from Aluo River? Big brother, I was just joking. Since we are fated to meet today, how about letting me invite big brother and sister-in-law to go sightseeing in the city? Wan Yi said hurriedly, then waited vigilantly. Why didn't Wan Yi run away? Was it because he saw that the heads of the 4 people were filled with? Just now, Wan Yi felt that the system was broken. For a person to actually dare to have a question mark in his combat strength, could there be a bug in the system? However, after going through the system's verification, all of the functions of the system are normal. This means that the combat strength of the 4 people in front of me is unable to be determined. What the hell is this? It seemed that the system would not admit that it had an accident, just like how a drunk person would not admit that they were drunk. What if it was also a system? What if it was a plug-in system? It could be leveled up without doing any work. All it had to do was hack. It was a system specially made for lazy people. Would be awesome. I am only 18 years old this year, which means that I am a Dodosher. If news of this were to spread, it would definitely shake the entire Kangluo continent. However, if I were to keep a low profile and something were to happen, it would be game over. Just like today, there were suddenly 4 of them? Wasn't that scary? I was so scared that I almost sh*T myself. But at least I got to f***ck myself last night and was even defeated by Hua Kuei. My life wasn't in vain. All right. Yi Hua said faintly. I'd like to see what kind of trick you're playing. Wan Yi felt as if he had been reborn and hurriedly led the way. Big brother, this is your first time coming to Azure Dragon Empire, right? Wan Yi asked curiously. Yi Hua said faintly, yes. What if I guessed in my heart that this person isn't a spy, right? But even if this person is a spy, I don't have one myself. What a big question. I can't win against him. I can't win against him. Big brother, are you here to play? You talk a lot. Yihua said gravely. He still wanted to get more information out of Wan Yi. If Wan Yi didn't speak, he would be afraid of angering this question mark brother. System, please don't deceive me. Yihua took a look at his experience bar. Rank 3 to Do Shi, his hack experience bar is already half full. End of this chapter. Chapter 801. As long as I continue to eat and drink, I will be able to become a Do Emperor. Who else can be more awesome than me? This is what is called true wretched development. Fortunately, there is still a carriage. This carriage was brought by Wan Yi, while the others were all riding on horses. Brother ? Please get on the carriage. Wan Yi shouted respectfully. Yihua took a look at Wan Yi puzzledly. Brother ? This fellow sure has guts. Yihua did not pay attention to him. He first carried his wives onto the carriage, then got on the carriage himself. Outside, the 3 wives became like ordinary people and being taken care of by Yihua. This will give me a kind of blissful feeling. Wan Yi is sitting at the front of the carriage and is currently trying to figure out the 4 question marks on the carriage. Could it be that they also have a system? And are they the early stage? Impossible, I am the main character, how can I possibly meet other main characters? This is too fake. They should be experts that came from other places. That's right. As the main character, they definitely have a strong backer. This should be a welfare agency that allows me to have a good relationship with the big shots. Thinking up to here, Wan Yi calmed down. Treat them well, it will be helpful to me in the future. Being the main character is so annoying, I don't dare to say that I am outstanding. Qing Yutong, who was in the carriage, was currently communicating with her system. Master, I sense that the man in front has a system, but that is a rather outdated system. It belongs to the category of obsolete products. All obsolete products? Then what kind of product do you have now? Qing Yutong asked curiously. Thanks to Master, the version of the system that I am currently using is the most advanced, and it is also one of the best in the system world. Then I can be at ease. Qing Yutong was relieved. Master, the current state of your body can still be developed. Master, please continue to stay in the same room with the male master. The system discovered that every time after, Master's body will become more perfect. Go to hell, brother-in-law and I are truly in love with each other. You are making me sound like a bad woman. Qing Yutong snorted in her heart. Master, by absorbing the essence of the male master, you will become more and more beautiful, the system will not lie to you. He, do you think that I will believe you? Qing Yutong said in disdain. However, she was thinking in her heart, ever since I did that with brother-in-law, I feel that my skin has become even better and even more beautiful. Eyeing this damn beauty was taken advantage of by brother-in-law. Master, your achievements are my achievements. Every time there's a new version there are all kinds of good things. Master hasn't been to the market in a long time, and now everything in the market is free to try out. Although it can't compare to Master's treasures, it's still a rare treasure. Little sister system, I realize that you're especially talkative today. What's the situation? Teacher, please explain. Master, I realize that there are many system users in this world. Some systems can even devour others, so I hope that Master can be careful. Qing Yutong paused for a moment. A lot of system users? The system had never said something like that before. Alright, I got it. Master, absorb more of the male master's essence. Good luck, Scram. Qing Yutong couldn't help but blush. Wasn't it enough during this period of time? Brother-in-law had already played with me all over, he is so naughty. But it was so exciting. After 2 hours they finally arrived at the Azure Dragon Empire. Big brother, we have reached the outskirts of the city, Wan Yi, who was driving the carriage, shouted. Yihua took a look at it. It's just ordinary, there's nothing special about it. Compared to Bright Mist Communal Empire, Azure Dragon Empire is quite lacking. In actuality, Azure Dragon Empire City Wall is also very tall, but compared to Voidless Empire City Wall, Azure Dragon Empire City Wall is still quite a bit shorter. Most importantly, Voidless Empire City Wall is pitch black. Qingya and the others were the same. After seeing Voidless Empire City Wall and seeing this city wall, they completely lost interest. Big brother, we have arrived. Wan Yi greeted carefully. These are 4 great gods, they might be big shots of some power. Yihua brought along his wives and carried them down the carriage one by one. This made Wan Yi extremely envious. As the main character, I still haven't gone out to train yet. After I go out to train, I will definitely meet all kinds of beauties. Then, I will become some ancient emperor and dominate the entire world, living a free and unfettered life. Isn't that wonderful? It's so good to have a system, it's so good to have a system, it's a must-have item to walk towards the pinnacle of one's life. Big brother, are you hungry? This Azure Dragon Empire's Huaman Lu's food is not bad. Wan Yi smiled obsequiously at the side. By smiling obsequiously now, a great future awaits me in the future. This time Yihua didn't just come out to play, he also wanted to take a look at 3 Despair Palace and Benevolent King Prison. Eat and wait, is there anything fun to do there? Yihua asked faintly. Speaking of fun, Wan Yi was talking about Grandmaster level. Big brother, are you interested in the sparring field? Wan Yi asked. Sure, let's go and take a look. Yihua felt that the sparring field was a place where he could gather information. Big brother, follow me. Yihua brought along his 3 wives and walked in the Azure Dragon Empire. The appearance of 3 such beauties instantly spread out. One must know that the appearance of the 3 women was not something that a person from the underworld could have. Just by looking at the 3 women one would be drunk. Qingya and the others didn't seem to like this kind of feeling. Their appearance was for their husbands to admire, thus all of them bought a piece of veil and wore it. Even Qing Yutong was the same. After wearing the veil, it added even more of a mysterious beauty to it. Yihua really wanted to see what was underneath the veil. Yihua had no choice, he just wanted to see the envious eyes of other men. In the end, after his wives wore the veil, it was gone. However, Yihua knew what they meant, they were truly thinking for me. Now that I have sent the children away, it is time for me to have a quartet. Just thinking about it makes me a little excited. Yihua sighed with emotion. Right now, the person who is able to make me feel excited is actually my wife. Everyone quickly arrived at the martial arts arena. It was almost the size of a football field, but it was a little smaller. What if he was a nouveau riche, so he arranged a VIP seat. The so-called VIP seats were on the steps surrounding the stage. There were tables and stools for them to drink and watch the fight. The ordinary seats below were much lower class. Under Wan Yi's guidance, they walked up the stairs to the top floor. They found a table and sat down. The view was not bad. There were 2 men dueling in the field. They couldn't even be considered fighters, and they were only using their physical bodies to fight. Boring. Qing Yutong muttered, then leaned onto Yihua's shoulder and pouted. Yihua lightly stroked onto Qing Yutong's beautiful hair. Have a seat first before we leave. Brother, do you want some appetizers and wine? Have some. Yihua said faintly. If Wan Yi hurriedly went to prepare, it would mean that Wan Yi was completely treating Yihua as a thigh and would serve him well. However, the man who was sitting at the table beside Yihua paused for a moment. Why do I feel that this voice is so familiar? That's right. This is the 4th prince who is currently on the run, Feng Yun. End of this chapter. Chapter 802. After losing the battle, Feng Yun felt that he was too ashamed to go back. Moreover, he had a feeling that going back was also very dangerous. Therefore, he headed south and arrived at the Azure Dragon Empire. However, a few days after he arrived, he heard that his Gouda duchy had a new king. This caused Feng Yun to be shocked. Fortunately, he had run away. Otherwise, he would have definitely died. But, Imperial Father, don't worry, I will avenge you. Once I summon an orange card general, the Voidless Empire will be finished. I only need 1 general. They could completely flatten Wuxia Empire. Hearing this familiar voice, Feng Yun looked towards Yihua and the 3 women who were wearing veils. However, he wasn't sure. The snowstorm that day was very big, and adding on that the distance was very far, he wasn't able to see Yihua's face clearly, and he could only hear his voice. Feng Yun didn't pay much attention to the fact that the voices were similar. After all, how could the Emperor of Voidless Empire possibly come here? However, Yihua had seen Feng Yun clearly, and he had also seen Feng Yun right now. He didn't expect that the 4th prince who had escaped would come here. Interesting. Qing Yutong, who was acting coquettishly in Yihua's embrace, was suddenly startled. Master, the man on the other side has a summoning system. It's an advanced version. Master, you have to be careful. The summoning is already counting down. Qing Yutong asked curiously, is it possible to mess it up? I don't know, but I can try. Alright, let's give it a try then. Qing Yutong wanted to destroy the summoning system again. This summoning system, it sounds like it is very powerful. After a long time, the system said, Master, I can only speed up the summoning time. You even sped up. Then Master, I'll do it slowly. Forget it, it's good that it's fast, it just so happens that I'm bored. Qing Yutong was very curious what kind of thing would he be able to summon out, it seems to be very exciting. Yes, Master. Feng Yun, who was sitting next to him, was very puzzled and even shocked. Originally there were still 8 hours left. How did it suddenly shorten to 1 minute? System, what happened? Why did it shorten? Feng Yun asked doubtfully. Originally, he wanted to hide in a place where there was no one around to summon, but now that there were so many people, what if something happened? Master, everything is normal, 1 minute countdown. It seemed that Feng Yun's system didn't know that it had been hacked and was still counting down. Feng Yun was a bit nervous. Just what kind of man or girl will appear? Or is it a strategist or a soldier? Hurry up and come out. Follow Master and make a name for yourself in this Kangluo continent. Along with the countdown of the last few seconds, Feng Yun became even more nervous, and even Qin Yutong was also very nervous. Yi Hua could feel that Qin Yutong, who was in his embrace, was trembling slightly. Yi Hua smiled. Qinya, look at your little sister, she wants it again. Qinya, Donghuang Baiji. Qin Yutong immediately felt very embarrassed and immediately sat up. Brother-in-law, sister, don't listen to him. I'm not. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji shook their heads, expressing that they could understand. At this time, Wan Yi personally served the dishes and wine. He then sat down. Big brother and sister-in-law, don't stand on ceremony. You can have as much as you want. However, Feng Yun, who was sitting at the next table, was dumbfounded. He stared blankly at the system interface. I'm rich. I'm rich. This was AF * King B. Feng Yun seemed to be unable to hold back the excitement in his heart, and he even wanted to roar out. The orange card that I have been raising for more than 10 years is finally effective. As expected of the main character's aura, giving away a woman at the start of the game. Feng Yun's system could be seen displaying his character's information. Name, Dodgy Race, 9-tailed Fox Loyalty, 50 full 100, Strength, Supreme of the Law of the Heavens Passive, Charm Aggro Immune to Temptation Techniques. Skills? Killer Technique? Partner? Looking at the data on the surface, Feng Yun clenched his fists tightly. Supreme of the Law of the Heavens. In this Kangluo continent, that damn Tianliang sect and Wushu Empire will be able to insta-kill you all. You all are trash. All of you can go to hell. Feng Yun looked at Daji's profile picture and understood why the passive skill is aggro. With an appearance like this, it is impossible for her not to aggro. She is simply extremely seductive. Just looking at the picture made my blood boil. If I were to see the real person, this is my subordinate. Not only can I warm my bed, I can also fight. Today when I go back I can finally eat meat. The system is such a good thing. System, where is she? After waiting for a long time, Feng Yun couldn't help but ask. Master, be at ease, Daji is already on her way here. Hurry up. I can't wait anymore. Also, why is Daji's loyalty so low? Feng Yun asked gravely. Just now, he had just thought of the problem of loyalty. Master, Daji's strength is outstanding and Master's current strength is rather low. Therefore, Master needs to quickly raise her loyalty. If loyalty drops to 0, Daji will no longer be Master's subordinate. Feng Yun nodded his head. Seems like I still have to be a wise master. Just now, I wanted to place Daji on my bed and rub her for a month, but it seems like that plan has gone down the drain. Forget it, let's raise her loyalty first. This is a very awesome orange card, I can't lose it. At this moment, a commotion suddenly sounded out. Men's screams could be heard everywhere. Feng Yun seemed to be able to sense that his Daji was about to arrive. Right now, Yi Hua seemed to have sensed a ghostly aura. An overlord actually appeared. An overlord actually appeared in this kind of small place, and it's a rather high-level overlord. How is this possible? Not only did Yi Hua sense it, Qinya and the others also sensed it, and all of them were puzzled. Right at this moment, a refreshing fragrance drifted in the air, and it was very pleasant. Yi Hua sneered in his heart. This overlord is a bit interesting, she seems to have her own charm technique. Looking at the surrounding men, all of them revealed a dumbfounded look. Even Wan Yi was the same. Master, be careful of charm technique. Wan Yi's system gave a warning, and immediately, an electric current struck Wan Yi's body. This caused Wan Yi to immediately be pleasantly surprised, and he was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. This person hasn't even appeared yet, and she has already charmed the men to this extent. Feng Yun sneered in his heart. Come out. My subordinate Daji. A beautiful figure appeared at the entrance of the room. All of the men's breathing seemed to have stopped for a moment. What kind of face is that? Too flirtatious. Looking at this kind of face, all of the men only had one thought, and that was to fiercely press their bodies down and rub themselves to death. Right now, Feng Yun was also stupefied. This person is much more attractive than a picture. That seductive smile of hers seemed to be innate, causing one to be endlessly addicted to it. A dense fragrance was emitted out from the woman's body. Her clothes were made of white muslin, and the skin that was inside the muslin was faintly discernible. That pair of eyes of hers, it seemed like as long as she looked at you, you would be at her mercy. End of this chapter. Chapter 803. Feng Yun gulped. This was the most seductive woman he had ever seen. It was as if a single word from her would be enough to hand over the entire world. Of course, Yihua also saw Daji, and his eyes revealed a look of surprise. For Daji to be able to make Yihua exclaim in admiration, it meant that Daji's beauty had already entered his eyes. Just look at how Qinya and Donghuang Baiji were attracted by Daji. Daji can even attract women. This Daji really lives up to her name. What if he didn't even look at Daji, afraid that he would tell her the secret? Qin Yutong also didn't expect that the other party would actually summon a woman, and furthermore, the woman was such a beautiful woman. Originally, Qin Yutong had thought that the other party was a monster. However, looking at such a woman made his heart itch, let alone a man. As Daji moved with her lotus steps, it seemed to move the hearts of all men. Daji's beautiful eyes looked at Feng Yun. The latter's heart skipped a beat and he didn't dare to make eye contact. Feng Yun's system was reminding him, "Master, Daji's loyalty is decreasing. Please maintain your master's aura." Feng Yun wanted to curse out loud. Daji was a heavenly Tao sovereign, and he almost peed his pants when she looked at him. How could he still maintain his imposing manner? Damn his imposing manner. Feng Yun hurriedly opened up the interface and discovered that Daji's loyalty was only at 30. This time he was really scared out of his wits. Daji looked towards Yihua and Yihua looked towards Daji. Their gazes intersected in the air. Daji felt that her heart, which had been sealed away for thousands of years, seemed to start beating. Was this her master? So handsome, so imposing, Master Daji's loyalty is almost gone. Hearing the warning that the system gave out, Feng Yun was very anxious. Right now Daji's loyalty is only at 1 point, however just as Feng Yun was in despair Daji's loyalty shot up like a rocket, directly going off the charts. Loyalty. 100. Feng Yun knew what a loyalty level of 100 meant. If you asked her to die she wouldn't even bat an eyelid. Although Feng Yun didn't know why Daji's loyalty suddenly went off the charts, Feng Yun was still very excited right now. With 100% loyalty she would be able to make any kind of pose and she would even be able to order Daji to squat down, and then stand up by herself. Awesome. This is so King awesome. Daji looked at her master with a blush on her face. Her master seemed to be very strong, and it was her honor to have such a master. It was a great honor to be able to serve such a master. Her master seemed to be looking at her. I don't even know how my makeup looks like when I appear today, I'm so nervous. Feng Yun saw that Daji was shy. Wow. Daji is definitely captivated by me. Look, Daji is actually playing with her hair shyly. Hurry up and come over, kneel beside your master, say your words of submission, and shock these spicy chickens. Yihua looked at Daji silently. This woman is not bad, she is extremely seductive. This is something that Qinya and the others do not have. Interesting. He didn't know why this supreme martial artist suddenly appeared. He seemed to be very shy when he looked at him. Because Yihua and Feng Yun just so happened to be in a straight line, Feng Yun mistakenly thought that Daji was looking at him, and his heart became very inflated. Daji could be seen walking over slowly with an incomparably bashful look on her face. Every single man looked at Daji wondering what she was going to do. Feng Yun had even prepared what he was going to say, and he had even stood up, preparing to welcome his first woman. Daji walked to the middle of the two seats and took a look at the man who had stood up. She thought to herself, this man is really spicy, he is so ugly and yet he is still smiling. Just looking at him makes me want to vomit. I really want to slap him away, this eyesore. Then she took a look at her master. His face was like the mid-autumn moon, his complexion was like the flowers in the dawn of spring, his hair was like a knife, his eyebrows were like ink, his face was like peach petals, and his eyes were like autumn waves. I really want to lie in my master's embrace and use my warm body to comfort my master's ice-cold palm. I want my master to know that Daji was born for you and will die for you. Daji is willing to do the most evil things in the world for my master, including killing myself. Feng Yun looked at Daji's flirtatious face and her expression of preparing to serve him, and Feng Yun felt incomparably comfortable. However, right at this moment, Daji turned around and walked to Yihua's right side. Daji's action caused Feng Yun to be stupefied. Daji, what are you doing? Your master is here. What are you walking over there for? Quickly come back. However, Daji's following action caused Feng Yun to feel as if he was struck by lightning. Right now, Yihua was drinking wine, and his gaze was on the table. Meanwhile, Daji, who walked to his side, slowly kneeled down and let out that voice that could make one go crazy. This is definitely the most beautiful melody in the world. Master, Daji has come late and made Master wait for so long. Master, please punish Daji. If Master doesn't punish Daji, Daji will kneel down and not get up. Daji, who was kneeling beside Yi Hua, said sweetly. This kind of woman is actually asking for punishment, but who would be willing to punish this kind of woman? I don't have the heart to do it at all. Furthermore, this kind of woman is actually someone else's slave. My God, why is it like this? This is impossible. Yi Hua took a small sip of wine. This overlord is a bit interesting. She actually wants to recognize me as her master. However, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji were stupefied. We never expected that this woman would actually run to her husband and say such words. Qin Yutong was even more stupefied. Brother-in-law doesn't have a system at all, and the one who summoned Daji just now was the man at the table beside him. That man was stupefied. The person that I summoned actually ran to brother-in-law's side and even recognized brother-in-law as her master. Yi Hua didn't say anything while Daji kneeled down with her head lowered. She was a bit sad. Master definitely thinks that I came late. I got lost just now. I didn't come late on purpose. Feng Yun couldn't take it anymore and directly walked over. Daji, I am your master. You are mistaken. Everyone was speechless. Just what is going on? This man seems to be very anxious, but that man seems to be very calm. Just who is this godlike woman? Daji turned her head around and took a look at Feng Yun, then said coldly, Who are you? And you still want to be my Daji's master? Why don't you take a piss and take a look at yourself? What kind of person are you? Don't force me to kill you in front of my master. Feng Yun's entire face darkened. After finished speaking, Daji said to Yi Hua tenderly, Master, I'm sorry. Daji said some vulgar words. Please forgive Daji's words. In my entire life, Daji will only have you as my master. Daji will serve under Master's feet and look up to Master's majestic appearance. When Feng Yun heard Daji's words, he felt as if countless of slaps were slapping onto him. The orange card that I raised painstakingly actually recognized someone else as its master, and it even said so many shameless words. This is infuriating. Master, Daji's attributes have changed. Following the system's reminder, Feng Yun opened up the attack interface. Name, Daji race, 9-tailed fox loyalty, 100 strength, heavenly law overlord passive, charm, draw hatred, immunity to temptation technique skills, killer technique. Partner, Yi Hua ask for monthly tickets, all kinds of tickets, end of this chapter. Chapter 804. When Feng Yun saw the couple's name, he nearly fainted. Just a moment ago that column was a question mark, but in the blink of an eye, it actually appeared. It would be normal if it was his own name, but this was someone else's name. It was an orange card Daji that he summoned. The supreme Daji of the heavenly Tao actually belonged to someone else. Feng Yun was unable to endure such a blow, and he abruptly took a step back and knocked down the table in an extremely sorry state. When everyone saw Feng Yun's expression, it was as if he had been abandoned by the woman he loved. However, in comparison, this abandonment wasn't without reason. Do you think you're worthy of such a woman with that kind of appearance of yours? Just like what that woman said just now, why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror? You really don't know your place. Master, Daji will not appear in the system because her loyalty has dropped to 0. My condolences, Master. F*CK me. Whose F*King system are you? How dare you tell your master to grieve instead of thinking of a way to redeem himself? Feng Yun looked at Daji's information panel and suddenly snowflakes appeared and then disappeared, but now Daji was kneeling in front of someone else. His heart ached so much that it felt like it was going to split open. I've raised you for almost 20 years. You've eaten so much of my good stuff and now you're kneeling at someone else's feet. Damn it. My woman. My orange card. My sweet dream. Master, don't be discouraged. The system will protect you. I'll protect you, my ass. The first orange card was already like this, who knew if the next one would be like this? No. I can't just let it go like this. This Daji is my woman. Feng Yun stood up and shouted at Daji, I'm your master, he's not. Although Daji, who was kneeling on the ground, did not raise her head, she was already emitting a strong killing intent. Feng Yun could not help but take a step back in fright. Then he tripped himself and fell to the ground again. Master. Daji doesn't want to kill when we first meet, but please allow me to kill this man who is full of nonsense, so as not to dirty my master's ears. Daji's voice was indeed very beautiful. Even if she spoke in a cold tone, it would still make people feel a sense of desire. Feng Yun panicked and even showed a look of terror. Master, run. Daji had already lost control. It would really kill its master. I hope Master is wise. Feng Yun's system roared madly in his mind. Could it be that this stupid master still hasn't seen the reality? Daji could stab you to death with a single strand of her hair. Feng Yun wasn't a fool. Looking at Daji, who was kneeling on the ground, his heart was bleeding. However, he had no choice but to turn around and run. Qing Yutong was already stupefied and didn't know what to say. System, what exactly is going on here? Qing Yutong was already confused. Master, the male master used his domineering aura to subdue the summoned character. Qing Yutong, brother-in-law, actually conquered Daji with his domineering aura? How could this be? Master, actually that man was too careless, the system said softly. What do you mean? Qing Yutong asked curiously. Normally, such a powerful character wouldn't appear in a summoning system, unless that character was nurtured for a long period of time. This Daji clearly appeared in such a way, but the host's strength is too weak, and yet he was able to summon such a powerful character. A generation gap has already appeared, and I believe that the loyalty of the summoned character is very low. If this host were to secretly summon a character, there would only be two outcomes. The first outcome would be that the summoned character would kill the host, and the second outcome would be that the host would become the slave of the summoned character, and the strength of the male master would make her submit to him. This is the principle of the law of the jungle. Hearing the system's explanation, Qing Yutong finally understood. This man wanted to become fat in one bite, and in the end such a thing happened. This is truly unfortunate. I suffered a huge loss. Oh. He should be lucky. If he were to secretly summon a character, he would definitely die. Fortunately, brother-in-law saved his life. Brother-in-law is such a kind person. After saving other people's life, he even mysteriously obtained a female servant. I don't know what Big Sister and Big Sister Baiji are thinking, but looking at Daji's attitude, unless I get rid of her, I will definitely follow brother-in-law. Aha, there's going to be a good show to watch. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji came back to their senses from the shock. Yi Hua was just drinking a bit of wine here, and when such a beautiful woman came over and asked to serve him, a woman's heart would definitely be filled with jealousy. Damn it, it is also troublesome for a husband to be too outstanding. He is simply like a magnet, the kind that specializes in attracting women. Right now, Daji was still respectfully kneeling beside Yi Hua, and Yi Hua did not say anything, nor did he express his opinion. In actuality, Yi Hua didn't mind having a female servant. Daji's appearance is up to standard, her words are pleasant to hear, and looking at her current actions, she is obedient enough. Her strength is also not bad, and there is still potential to be developed. It should be possible for her to walk unhindered in Kangluo continent. However, such a matter still needs to be decided by the three empresses. To offend three empresses for the sake of one, I have even passed math. I know that 3 is greater than 1. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji took a look at each other, seemingly communicating with their eyes. The two women came to an agreement. Young lady, our husband appreciates your kindness, but please return. Qingya said faintly, then took a look at Yi Hua. Don't you know what my husband is thinking? This Daji's appearance is already up to standard. I reckon that she wants to look at me. At least you are still thinking for us. The men who were sitting around cried out in surprise. Although the faces of the three women were masked, judging from their graceful figures and the faintly discernible faces under the white veil, they are definitely super beauties. Their relationship with that man is definitely not ordinary. Wan Yi, who was sitting at the side, sighed in his heart. As a man, he understood the question mark bro's thoughts very well. With such a woman kneeling beside him, how could his heart not be moved? However, there is a tiger at home, there is nothing I can do. Daji's slender shoulders trembled slightly, and a slight choking sound could be heard. Daji could be seen raising her enchanting face. Right now, her face was already filled with tears, making her look delicate and pitiful. Madam, since young, Daji did not have any parents and lived an inhumane life. Right now, the reason why I came over is to look for Master and serve beside Master's feet. I do not want to fight with the madams for Master's favor. If the madams feel that Daji is an eyesore, then grant Daji death. This way, Daji will be able to die beside Master's feet, and this can be counted as a kind of honor. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were stupefied. This Daji sure knows how to twist words. Although I don't know if what Daji said is true or false, her eloquence is definitely not bad. Even if I die, I will definitely die beside brother-in-law's feet. Without waiting for Qingya to speak, Daji looked at Yihua, who was silently drinking wine, and said, Master, Daji has already seen your honor, and I have no regrets in this life. Daji will not leave Master, and thus I will let Daji's soul accompany Master. After finished speaking, Daji's slender index finger could be seen growing out a sharp nail, and with her beautiful eyes closed, Daji poked towards her spotlessly white jade neck. End of chapter. Chapter 805. Yihua was a little surprised. This Daji is for real? With this poke, someone might really die. Qin Yutong didn't expect that this Daji would be for real either. Qinye and Donghuang Baiji didn't plan to force someone to death, so they were shocked by Daji's actions. Why does my husband have to be so outstanding? This is so annoying. I didn't expect that this awesome Daji is really going to commit suicide. That expression of hers doesn't seem to be an act. However, if I find out that Daji is also wearing a row of question marks on her head, this is too scary. Suddenly, a hand pressed onto Daji's spotlessly white wrist. Those sharp nails had already pierced into Daji's skin, and a stream of blood flowed down from that spotlessly white skin. It was truly a ghastly sight. Yihua took a look at Qinye. Luckily, I was able to endure it just now. If I had made a move just now, they would have made a fuss again. That's right, the one who pressed onto Daji's wrist was Qinye. Qinye's kind heart erupted again. She couldn't bear to see Daji die just like that. She didn't do anything wrong, and yet she committed suicide just because I said a sentence. It makes it seem as if I am a murderer who forced a pitiful lady to death. Daji slowly opened her beautiful eyes and looked at Qinye. 2 streams of tears flowed out from her eyes as she bowed towards Qinye. Thank you, madam, for helping me. The wine in Yihua's mouth sprayed out. This Daji is too damn interesting. Qinye didn't say anything at all. Qinye couldn't wrap her head around what was going on. I only stopped you from committing suicide, and you actually bowed to me. Donghuang Baiji shook her head. Why did such a thing happen? This is so depressing. Qin Yutong was more or less the same as Yihua. She was also secretly laughing. She felt that this Daji was too interesting. What if I am really envious of this brother? This luck with women came so mysteriously, could it be that I am the main character? Yihua placed down the wine cup and said lightly, Qinye, I really didn't expect that you would allow such a thing to happen. Your husband is very gratified. Qinye looked at Yihua dumbfoundedly. What did I allow? Qin Yutong smiled and said, Big sister, I didn't expect you to be so generous. Brother-in-law, you will have a maid in the future. Looking at her husband and her little sister, Qinye regretted marrying her little sister to her husband. Right now, Qinye is completely on Yihua's side. Daji quickly wiped her tears and said respectfully to Qinye, Madam, don't worry. Daji is only master's maid. I will always have this identity. The men sitting at the side were speechless. Such a woman was actually someone else's maid. She even asked to be a maid. Had the world changed? What if he had a feeling that this was the protagonist's plot? Why didn't he have such a plot arrangement? Qinye waved her hand in annoyance. I don't want to say anything anymore. I don't have the heart to force him to death, and I don't feel comfortable letting him do as he pleases. She looked at her husband and saw that he was putting on a straight face. Keep up the act. I don't know how happy you are right now. Yihua continued to remain silent. You are the one who agreed to it, not me. I was still feeling gloomy, but suddenly, such a beautiful maid appeared out of nowhere. I am a bit happy. Without any instructions, Daji still knelt on the ground. Get up. Qinye said helplessly. Thank you, madam, Daji said in a choked voice. Then she stood up. The blood under her neck was shocking. Yihua shook his head. Qinye was just that kind-hearted. If she was a bit more heartless, Daji would have most likely already become a corpse by now. However, if Qinye really becomes that kind of woman, I won't like her that much. Yihua stretched out his hand and was about to pick up the wine glass. Daji immediately reached out and picked it up first. Master, please let Daji test it to see if it's poisonous. After that, Daji took a sip and said seriously, Master, this wine is not poisonous. You can taste it without worry. Yihua, I, the Supreme Overlord, had just drunk a few cups of wine. It can't be that you want to kiss me indirectly, right? Daji, who put down the wine glass, blushed slightly, making her even more charming. He looked at the wine glass and saw Daji's red lip mark. This caused Qinye and Donghuang Baiji to feel dizzy. They actually got a female bodyguard for their husband, fuck. Why did he come to this martial arts arena? Who was the one who suggested this? If he didn't come, how could he possibly see this Daji? Who is it? It was Wan Yi who suggested it. Motherf asterisk her. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji immediately looked towards Wan Yi, and Wan Yi felt his entire body turning cold. Master, danger warning. Wan Yi cried out that he was wronged. This really has nothing to do with me, I am also very confused. Qingya took out a handkerchief. Wipe off the blood on my neck. Daji said respectfully, thank you, madam. Daji can do it myself, lest Daji's despicable blood stains madam's expensive handkerchief. Qingya held onto her forehead helplessly. This Daji's words? Why do I feel that she is so good at coaxing people? Suddenly, a fly circled around Yi Hua. Daji's beautiful eyes turned cold as she shouted out, audacious. Daji's shout gave everyone a fright. They thought that there was an assassin. Daji's 5 fingers turned into claws and slashed towards the fly that had fainted. Whoosh! 5 green figures could be seen streaking across the rooftop. A mere fly dares to circle around Master's surroundings and disturb Master's mood. Master, Daji has already eliminated this damned fly. Master and Madam can continue to drink. Daji will be waiting at the side. Daji's beautiful eyes were like a radar, scanning the surroundings, killing whoever dared to act recklessly. Just as she finished speaking, boom boom boom, the roof at the side collapsed. Those 5 green figures had actually broken through the roof. A fly landed on the ground and twitched slightly. The shadow in its heart was very big. Big sister, I'm just passing by, and you actually use such a move to deal with a fly. Other people don't even know how to use a butcher's knife to kill a chicken, but you actually used a dragon salyer to kill a fly. Looking at the collapsed house at the side, the corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched slightly. This made a little fierce. I like it. Qing Yutong also felt that this Daji was different from the masses and was very interesting. Big sister and big sister Baiji will probably have a headache. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Isn't this a little too meticulous? It's just killing a fly and she actually destroyed the roof at the side. Donghuang Baiji couldn't help but say, Daji. Madam, please speak, don't you think it's too noisy? Daji will kill these ants right now so that they don't disturb Master and Madam's peace. Hearing this, Yi Hua felt very happy. This is exactly what I like. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji rolled their eyes. This kind of personality is most probably the kind that Yi Hua likes. Everyone who was sitting at the table heard it. This Daji is too savage to actually want to kill everyone here. Aren't you afraid of being punished? Daji's passive ability in the information bar was not for nothing. What if I also have a maid like this? It would be too great. She can be a bodyguard during the day and at night she can even warm the bed. End of this chapter. Chapter 806. Brother ? We shouldn't stay here for long. The guards will be here soon. Wan Yi reminded him in a low voice. Although he wasn't afraid, it would still be troublesome. Daji said coldly, Master, Madam, with Daji here, there's no need to worry. Anyone who dares to disturb Master and Madam's drinking will only be greeted with death. Yi Hua felt that this Daji was becoming more and more in line with his appetite. Daji. Yi Hua called out faintly. Daji went into a daze for a moment when she heard her master calling out to her for the first time. Soon after, Daji knelt onto the ground. Master, were you calling out to Daji just now? Oh my God. This is the most glorious moment in Daji's life. Master, you are too good to Daji and Daji is unable to repay you with anything. Thus, I can only dedicate my life to Master. I hope that Master will not despise Daji. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji, Qing Yutong felt that even those subordinates of brother-in-law are not as formidable as Daji. Brother-in-law had only shouted out for a bit, and when he looked at Daji, he was so excited that he seemed as though he was about to orgasm. However, Yi Hua liked this kind of tone. It has been a long time since I have heard such flattering words. Furthermore, it was the kind of flattering words that were incomparably honest. What if he felt that a dozen of these girls were too good at flattering him? Yi Hua said lightly, Get up, I won't despise you. Daji was so excited that words couldn't describe it. She said shyly, Don't worry, Master. Daji will definitely serve Master with all my heart in the future. Daji is Master's shield. If you want to hurt Master's great body, you must first step on Daji's corpse. Hearing that, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji felt a bit more comfortable. Daji's words were just to protect her man, and she didn't have any other intentions. At the very least, Yi Hua's safety would be guaranteed to a certain extent, and Qingya and Donghuang Baiji would feel much more at ease. My subordinates don't even know how to flatter me anymore. Look at this Daji, she is so good at talking. The person who is able to harm me has yet to be born. Yi Hua said faintly. Daji looked at her master's confident expression and said in admiration, "Master is right. Master's glory will spread all over the earth. Everyone should submit to Master, including Daji." Comfortable. This Daji is not bad. She had quite a glib tongue. 6. Daji, don't speak so exaggeratedly in the future. Chinya couldn't help but remind Daji. She felt goosebumps all over her body. Daji said respectfully, "Madam, I'm not exaggerating. As the most honorable woman in the world, you will stand at the peak with Master. You will look down on the heroes and see the great rivers and mountains." Qing Yutong couldn't help but laugh. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji laughed as well. "This bootlicking is really amazing. Let's go." Yi Hua stood up and said faintly. Daji immediately walked in front and said respectfully, "Master, let Daji scout ahead to prevent some lowly people from approaching you and touching your noble body." "Everyone, Daji." Yi Hua called out faintly. Daji immediately turned around shyly. Master has to walk at the front," Yi Hua reminded. Daji's expression changed and she immediately knelt down. "Master," Daji was thoughtless. "Please punish me." Seeing such a super beauty kneeling on the ground at the drop of a hat, everyone felt dizzy. "Alright, forget about it. Master, please punish Daji. Let Daji remember this and not make the same mistake in the future." Daji, who was kneeling on the ground, begged for punishment. "If you don't punish me, I won't get up." Yi Hua said gravely, "Daji, are you going to disobey Master's orders?" Daji doesn't dare. Daji will be obedient in the future. Daji obediently retreated behind Qingya and the others while remaining vigilant. As a personal maid, she had to know how to share her master's burden. In actuality, Feng Yun didn't walk far. Looking at his orange card, he obediently followed behind the group. His heart was bleeding. For so many days and nights, I nurtured my orange card carefully, and now I have made a wedding dress for someone else. How can I be like this? Master, don't be discouraged. I have already told Master long ago that we have to take things step by step. Orange card characters aren't that easy to control. This time, Feng Yun used Daji to learn a lesson. Thus, he wouldn't insist on nurturing an orange card character anymore. I will first get a few white cards to use and slowly level them up to orange cards. I should have listened to the system from the start. Now that I have made a wedding dress for someone else, the beautiful Daji now belongs to someone else. It doesn't matter. Daji ran away, I still have Diao-chan. Wait, countless beauties are in the system. When the time comes, I will pull out all of them and appear in front of Daji and make her regret her choice back then. Brother ? How about going to my house to rest for a bit? Wani suggested. I must definitely make arrangements for this group of question marks. Yi Hua felt that he could rest for a bit, so he didn't reject. One family could be considered as a rich family in the Azure Dragon Empire, but they were just rich and there weren't any officials in the family. One family's mansion was rather big. Although it couldn't be compared to those royal relatives and nobles, it was more than a few times bigger when compared to ordinary rich people. Within the mansion there was a small bridge, a flowing river, and a rockery that was like a painting. Brother ? Sisters-in-law, anything is fine. My parents aren't at home, they went out to discuss business. Wan Yi instructed the servants to go and prepare a room. Just as Yi Hua was about to sit down, Daji suddenly became nervous. Master. Wait a moment. Yi Hua stopped and looked at Daji with a puzzled look. Daji said shyly, Master, the chair is a bit dirty, let Daji wipe it, don't dirty Master's clothes. After finished speaking, Daji used her pure white sleeves to lightly wipe the chair. Master, you can sit now. Yi Hua flicked Daji's forehead, and the latter cried out in pain as she held onto her forehead. Don't be like this in the future. Yi Hua said faintly. I, the Supreme Overlord, am not that unreasonable. Daji understands, Master, please don't blame me. This is Daji's first time being a maid and I don't have much experience. Daji said shyly. Master actually flicked my forehead just now, I'm so happy. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji sat at Yi Hua's two sides. Qing Yutong observed the main hall, while Daji didn't need any other servants at all. She personally poured tea for her master and the madams. This made Qingya feel that it isn't bad to have such a considerate girl to serve them. When Donghuang Baiji was the empress, there were people who served her, but after Yi Hua came over, other than imperial guards, there was no one else in the entire palace. Yi Hua didn't even prepare any maids, and he had to do everything himself. Now that he has Daji, it doesn't seem to be a bad thing. Master, madams, please have a taste. If Daji doesn't brew the tea well, Daji will brew the tea again. Yi Hua and the others took a sip of the tea. Not bad, this tea brewing skill is pretty good. Of course, Daji is a person who has lived for tens of thousands of years, and brewing tea is a basic skill. End of this chapter. Chapter 807. The three women took off their veils since there was no one around. When Daji, who was brewing tea, saw the honor of the ladies, she was stunned. She's so beautiful. Master's wife actually has such a beautiful appearance. Master is really lucky. Fortunately, I'm pretty good looking as well and didn't embarrass Master. It seemed that Daji was very confident in her appearance. On the other hand, Donghuang Baiji felt that Daji's tea was pretty good. Since even I am unable to brew the tea in the future, I should just kidnap Daji and make her my maid. Thinking up to here, Donghuang Baiji and Qingye discussed in a low voice. The two women couldn't help but nod their heads. Daji. Donghuang Baiji called out with a light smile. Daji came before Donghuang Baiji respectfully. Madam, is there anything that you need Daji to arrange? Qingye smiled and said, Daji, it's like this, will you listen to us? Of course Daji will listen to the madams. Yi Hua and Qing Yutong felt that they wanted to stir up trouble. Brother-in-law, big sister is going to headhunt people, we cannot let them headhunt us. Qing Yutong said lightly. It wasn't easy for an interesting person to come over. Yi Hua slightly wrinkled his brows. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji want to poach my people. Daji, how about you follow us in the future? Qingye said with a smile. After hearing this, Daji did not reply immediately. Instead she looked at Yi Hua. Yi Hua sneered in his heart. You want to abduct me, a maid? How could it be that easy? Daji, what are you looking at him for? Donghuang Baiji said. Daji pursed her lips and said in a low voice, Madam, I am Master's maid. I have to serve Master. If Master agrees, I will serve the two madams. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji looked towards Yi Hua. Their meaning was very clear. Are you going to give me or not? Meanwhile, Daji looked towards Yi Hua pitifully. Master, don't abandon Daji. Yi Hua drank his tea and pretended not to see anything. This angered Qingye and Donghuang Baiji. Just a while ago he said that he would listen to everything I say, but look at him now, he is a big liar. Men were all big pig trotters. They didn't even believe what they said. Daji. Yi Hua called. Daji was overjoyed and walked to the front of Yi Hua. Master, what can Daji do for you? Of course I have to listen to the madams, but I am still your master. Yi Hua gave face to the madams. I understand. Don't worry, Master. Yi Hua nodded. At this time Wan Yi returned to the lobby. Brother ? The room is ready. You can stay as long as you want. What if you are living in such a big mansion by yourself? Is there no one else? Qing Yutong asked curiously. After all, he had a system. Wan Yi sat at the side and said respectfully, Sister-in-law, I do have a fiancé, but... Before he could finish his words, a tender voice came from outside the door. What if... Get out here right now. A woman dressed in a fiery red dress walked in angrily, a long sword hanging from her waist. She had delicate features, but her face was covered in anger. Beside the woman stood an elder who wore a black robe and gave off an ominous feeling. Just when Lin Qianxin stepped into the lobby, he saw Yi Hua and the others, and was immediately captivated by them. After all, these people's appearance was rather high. Even the old man behind him was puzzled. Daji looked at Lin Qianxin and the others vigilantly. As long as they dare to speak rudely, I will kill them. Wan Yi stood up and shouted, Lin Qianxin, are you sick? Can't you see that I am entertaining guests? Lin Qianxin retracted his gaze and looked at Wan Yi with a look of disdain. Wan Yi, I'm telling you. I, Lin Qianxin, am a disciple of the benevolent King Prison. You are out of my league. Ha, Lin Qianxin, when did you climb up to such a high branch? Not bad. Wan Yi mocked. Humph, you ignorant and incompetent prodigal, you even went to a brothel to sleep with the courtesan last night, disgusting. Wan Yi went into a daze for a moment, then laughed. That's right. The money spent was worth it just to disgust you. Wan Yi told you. I wanna... Without waiting for Lin Qianxin to finish, Wan Yi took the initiative and said, I want to divorce you right now. I have long despised you. In the past, you used my connections to find people everywhere, you scumbag. You dare to divorce me. Lin Qianxin was quite angry. Yi Hua suddenly laughed lightly. I seem to have seen this scene somewhere before, but I can't remember where. What are you laughing at? Is there a place for you to laugh? Lin Qianxin pointed at Yi Hua and shouted. However, just as she finished speaking, slap. Daji made her move directly and directly slapped Lin Qianxin and said coldly, You dare to be rude to my master, how dare you? Master, Please allow me to kill this woman. Yi Hua drank his tea and did not make a sound, seemingly waiting for that old man to speak. You actually hit me, senior brother Star Abyss? Lin Tianxin actually shouted sweetly and even held onto the old man's arm. This broadened Yi Hua's horizons. Wan Yi was also stupefied. Originally, he wanted to make her a cuckold, but he didn't expect that she was even more ruthless and actually found an old man to make her a cuckold. *CK. Actually, Star Abyss was not an old man, he just cultivated into an old man, and he was not even 30 years old yet. There was a kind of evil technique in the Benevolent King prison that could refine a young man into an old man, but his battle chi would also increase rapidly. Of course, it was just one of the evil techniques, very few people would cultivate it, but there were still people who were willing to sacrifice their youth. Just like this Star Abyss. Wan Yi felt great looking at that slap on Lin Tianxin's face. Delightful. He had long wanted to fight, just that he was afraid of exposing his true strength. A man should be able to grow and shrink, not be flexible. Yi Hua's interest was piqued. Benevolent King Prison, one of the forces in Aluo River, his luck was rather good. Star Abyss protected Lin Tianxin behind him and said solemnly, "Miss, I'm a disciple of the Benevolent King Prison, you..." Slap. Before Star Abyss finished speaking, Daji gave another slap, directly making Star Abyss stupefied. Lin Tianxin looked at senior brother blankly. He was actually beaten, and furthermore he was beaten with his house exposed. Wan Yi also didn't expect that he would actually directly beat up someone from the Benevolent King prison. This was blowing things up. Yi Hua just wanted to blow things up. This Daji was really capable, quite protective of her master. Star Abyss covered his face, his old face appearing horrified as he shouted, "You dare to hit me? Do you know my master?" Slap. "Try hitting me one more time, slap." Daji said coldly, "Your request is really despicable enough." Daji's blows were still very heavy, even a few teeth fell on the ground, it really made people's hair stand on end. At this moment Lin Tianxin shouted, "Wan Yi, you won't have any what-ifs in the future. You're dead this time. You actually beat up someone from the Benevolent King prison. Did I allow you to speak?" Daji instantly appeared in front of Lin Tianxin and gave another slap. The crisp sound made people perspire in shame. Her chin should be crooked. End of this chapter. Chapter 808. Lin Tianxin was directly slammed into the pillar. His jaw was indeed a little crooked, but he didn't faint. Before her master gave a death order, Daji still controlled herself and did not beat him to death. This was also what a maid should do. Good fight. Wan Yi let out a cry of joy. This was too great. This damned woman was finally being punished. His heart was extremely happy. Brother ? Was indeed awesome. He didn't even bat an eyelid when he beat up the people from the Ring King prison. Lin Tianxin lay at the side trembling with fear. He didn't dare to say anything. He had been beaten silly. Currently, Star Abyss's mouth was full of fresh blood, and his teeth were scattered on the ground. An eye bent ribs, throwing Wang Yupu regrets rice, calamity and eye stuffy. Star Abyss's leaky teeth made his enunciations unclear. Donghuang Baiji threw a slap at the empty space. Although she did not touch it, she still slapped Star Abyss's face. "Straighten your tongue before you speak." Wow, is Baiji so fierce? This broadened Yi Hua's horizons. Suddenly, Star Abyss took out a firecracker and actually rushed outside, setting it off instantly. Bayu, a firework soared into the sky, blooming a prison character in the white sky. Even in the daytime it was very obvious. While Star Abyss roared, spittle and fresh blood splattering everywhere in his mouth. Once happy, the boat is dizzy. Money pig rice, mother's milk is inlaid with gold. Daji. Yi Hua called out lightly. Daji's murderous expression instantly became gentle when she heard her master's shout. Master, this was definitely the meaning of acting coquettishly towards her master, making Star Abyss and Lin Tianxin dumbfounded. This female assassin a second ago, and in the next moment she actually became a cute girl. The disparity was too great. They simply could not accept it. Knock that person out. What kind of bird language is he speaking? Yes, master. Daji also learned from Donghuang Baiji and directly whipped across the air. Star Abyss did not even have time to react when his entire person crashed into the fake mountain and fainted. It seemed to be quite painful. Daji looked at Lin Tianxin, who was trembling in fear and didn't dare to move. These people were devils, but if master came later they wouldn't have a good time. Of course, Yi Hua knew that the other party was calling for someone, and thus he let it be. Daji, come over and help massage master's shoulders. Yihua said faintly. Having a maid is also good, my wife will be able to relax a bit too. Daji, there's no need. I'll do it. Qinya could be seen standing up, then lightly pressed onto Yihua's back, then lowered her head and said, Yihua, you said before that you will listen to us, you cannot go back on your words. Alright, keep your promise. Yihua patted onto the back of Qinya's hand. This woman is starting to get jealous. However, being able to enjoy the massage from his wife, Yihua still felt very comfortable. Daji was a little disappointed. It was not easy for her master to let her massage, but the mistress stopped her. It seemed that the mistress was still worried about her. She suddenly hated herself for looking like a fox. If she wasn't so outstanding, Madam wouldn't be worried and would be able to serve her master with all her heart. Why do I have to look so good? It's really annoying. Daji, help me massage it. Qing Yutong suddenly laughed and said, All right, madam. Daji walked to the back of Qing Yutong, then placed her slender hands onto Qing Yutong's shoulders and lightly massaged them. Qing Yutong was very mischievous, and she suddenly stretched out her hand and touched Daji's hand. This shocked Daji, but she still suppressed it. Qingya glared at her sister fiercely. What did you mean by that just now? Are you taking advantage of others? Yihua also saw it, but he did not say anything. He enjoyed his wife's massage. It's really comfortable. Qingya's massage skills are getting better and better. Not long later, the huge army did not come, but two men came. They wore black clothes and carried something on their backs. It was blocked by a black cloth so they could not see it clearly. The two men looked at the fainted star abyss and that Lin Tianxin who was beaten silly, and their expressions became grave. There were two men sitting in the house and the rest were all women. Furthermore, these women were actually so beautiful. There was actually such a beauty in the world, it was really amazing. Master, martial uncle. Lin Tianxin crawled towards the two men, as if he had found a strong backing. Lin Tianxin, what's going on? As Lin Tianxin's master, Chu Jiming was a 9th grade Dado Shi. And the man beside Chu Jiming was called Yuan Qin, Chu Jiming's senior brother, a peak Dado Shi. Although the two of them were not ranked highly in the Ring King prison, they were still well-known figures outside. Master, martial uncle, these people hit me. Lin Tianxin accused everyone just like a child. Daddy, they hit me. Yuan Qin looked at the fainted star abyss at the side and asked coldly, Do you know what the consequences are for hitting the people of our Ring King prison? Yihua did not want to talk to these trash, so he said indifferently, Daji, go and deal with it. Okay, master, Daji said with that extremely sweet voice of hers. She wasn't trying to seduce Yihua, it was just that she had such a voice to begin with. However, when facing enemies, Daji would usually lower her voice when speaking. Madam, Daji temporarily cannot give you a massage. After Daji eliminates the enemy, I will give Madam a massage. Qing Yutong held onto Daji's small hand and patted it. It's fine, Madam will wait for you to come back. Looking at Qing Yutong's ambiguous gaze, Daji fled in defeat. This made Qing Yutong giggle. This was too interesting. However, Qinya could not help but knock her little sister's head. What are you doing? Big sister, this head of mine was knocked silly by you. Qing Yutong rubbed her head and looked at Yihua pitifully. Brother-in-law will make the decision. Qinya said petulantly, Yihua, why don't you teach her a lesson? Alright, I will teach her a lesson tonight. Yihua said lightly. Qing Yutong had a face of not being afraid. Anyway, her entire body was already played with by her brother-in-law, so there was no need to be afraid. Daji walked out of the door and her pretty face became ice cold. The ghostly aura that her body emitted made Chu Jiming and Yuan Qing's faces sink, and they immediately released their qi to resist. Demon woman. To actually use charm techniques. Chu Jiming shouted, his gaze was grave. Daji's mouth hooked up into a charming smile. Today is the important day for me and Master to meet. Originally, I did not want to see blood, but the blood is also red, which means that Daji's master will be prosperous in the future. This is also a good omen, so, the two of you, please release your blood, this will be your blessing. Demon woman, stop trying to mislead the people here. Today let me take care of you, you demon. Yuan Qing took out the thing that was on his back, and the black cloth that was covering the thing instantly dissipated, revealing the thing's original appearance. It was actually an exquisite pipa and it was blue in color. Every single string was emitting out a weak aura, and it seemed like the pipa was not an ordinary item. And the name of the song was the same as well. He was actually playing a zither, and the zither was placed on his thighs. The two of them sat down unconventionally, and the aura of a Dado Shi instantly spread out from their bodies. End of this chapter. Chapter 809. Daji's white dress fluttered in the wind caused by the battle chi. After all, Daji was really foxy. Men would go berserk when they see her. It could be seen that her looks were not any worse than Chinya and the others. Especially that foxy look, which Chinya and the others didn't have, it seemed to be slightly better. Yihua looked at this maid of his with interest. Not bad, she has a bit of a style. What are you looking at? Chinya said as she exerted strength in her hands. Be gentle, this is a type of appreciation towards beautiful things. Besides, you were the one who brought this maid back. Yihua said helplessly. Humph? Do you think I don't know what you are thinking? Let me tell you, Yihua, without my permission, if you touch Daji, the three of us will join hands and run away from home. Alright, I got it, I will listen to you. Since I made a promise, I naturally wouldn't lie. That's more like it. At this moment, Yihua said softly, let's sleep together tonight. Dream on. Chinya's face turned red. Then how about you two sisters come together? Yihua, can you be a bit more serious thinking about that kind of thing every day? Chinya didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Ever since she met Yihua, he has been like this. Yihua snorted, I don't care, let's sleep together tonight. Go and die. Aya, Chinya, you are going against the heavens, do you believe that I won't slap you? Then go ahead and slap me, bullying me when the child isn't here. Yihua was speechless. Aya, I was just joking, look at how serious you are. Continue with the massage, I won't tease you anymore. Humph, what if her attention was all outside and didn't eavesdrop at all? This question mark would definitely be able to crush her. If only I had that kind of strength. However, according to the development of the plot, I can do it too. After all, I am the main character, which main character would die? Which today I will let you experience the strength of the benevolent king prison. Go and repent in hell. Chu Jiming placed both of his hands on the pipa, while Yuan Qing, who was at the side, placed his fingers on the strings. Daji felt as if she heard the funniest thing in the world. The only one who can make me Daji go to hell is Master. What qualifications do you all have compared to Master? You all aren't even dust. Go to hell. Devil-rending sound. Chu Ziming shouted angrily. This was the first time a woman had humiliated him. Chu Ziming's hands plucked the surface of the zither, and a wave of golden battle energy appeared along with the strings. The golden battle energy changed form in the air and turned into a soldier in armor. He raised his sword and slashed at Daji. How dare you play with such insignificant skills in front of me, Daji? This is simply an insult to me. Daji stretched out her slender hand and grabbed the fierce blade. The ground beneath her feet couldn't help but crack. This action stunned Lin Tianxin. She had actually caught her master's attack. How was this possible? That was battle chi. Chu Jiming was also very shocked. This which actually grabbed his battle chi. Was this fake? Yuan Qing frowned and flicked his hands. Two waves of green battle chi instantly shot out and condensed into two green cheetahs that attacked Daji. Daji shouted out and fiercely pulled out her left hand. She actually pulled out her battle chi blade and flung it towards the two wild beasts that were formed from battle chi. This fling was like a boomerang. The two green cheetahs instantly dissipated, and the blade that was formed from battle chi once again landed in Daji's hands. Daji exerted force and the blade shattered, and the battle chi gradually fused into the air. Daji crushed the battle chi with a single hand. This caused Chu Ziming and Yuan Qing to become absent-minded for a long time. Use the zither, I am your ancestor. Daji could be seen taking out a zither. When the zither was taken out, a strong aura was emitted out from it. What a good zither. I wonder how good Daji's playing is. What kind of zither is this? Chu Ziming asked gravely. The zither that Daji took out was white in color, and it was as white as jade. No, it's as white as her skin. Furthermore, those zither strings are definitely not ordinary. As long as I am able to obtain this zither, it will be a good thing for me. Daji could be seen sitting cross-legged in the air and playing the first note. Immediately, everyone's mind buzzed. This zither didn't have a name in the past, but now it has a name. It is called Missing Master. As the name implies, it expresses Daji's respect towards its master. Even if I tell you all about the forging of this zither, you all wouldn't be able to understand. The following song is for my master. After countless years, Daji has finally met her master. Everything of Daji belongs to master. This song is called Return. Following Daji's voice, Daji's slender and long hands began playing the zither. A beautiful melody drifted in the surroundings. Yihua could hear the sadness and long wait in the melody, and there was also the joy of meeting. Yihua couldn't help but close his eyes and listen to the melody. Good. This maid sure is good. This song is nice to listen to. It's mine. Qingya suddenly shouted out. It's mine. Qin Yutong also began fighting over the maid. It's obviously mine. Donghuang Baiji was not to be outdone. This Daji was evidently an expert. Most probably, not only did she have some accomplishments in her zither skills, she definitely has a lot of other abilities as well. Yihua closed his eyes and said lightly, "Don't fight over it anymore, Daji is mine." Daji's zither skills are much better than Qingya and the others. Listening to this kind of melody, I feel very comfortable. I wonder if Daji knows how to play the flute. Yutong's flute skills have reached the point of perfection. To Yihua and the others, this was a beautiful melody, but to Chu Jiming and Yuan Qing, this melody was a nightmare. Demonic woman, you still want to use charm techniques. Chu Jiming shouted out explosively. He had already raised his duki to a peak state. Wrath of hell. Yuan Qing was not to be outdone and shouted out angrily. Break. Daji didn't care about the two of them at all and was currently fantasizing about her life with her master in the future. Washing master's socks, washing master's personal belongings, so embarrassing. Chu Jiming and Yuan Qing pressed onto the strings of the zither with both of their hands, but they suddenly discovered that they were unable to pull the strings. There seemed to be an indescribable power that was pulling the strings, and beads of sweat gradually appeared on the foreheads of the two of them. No matter how much strength they used, it wasn't completely useless. Bang! The strings of the zither could be seen suddenly snapping. The snapping strings were like sharp blades that slid across the faces of the two of them. Immediately, a bloody scar appeared on the faces of the two of them. This was happening to the two of them. Snapping. Snapping. The strings of the zither started snapping continuously, and the snapping strings seemed to have a life of their own, and they were all snapping towards the faces of the two of them. The two of them wanted to move, but their bodies were unable to move at all. Looking at Daji, who was playing the zither not far away, only now did the two of them discover the difference in strength between them. Daji is truly powerful. Unless the prison warden of the benevolent king prison comes, I reckon that they will still have to contend against each other. End of this chapter. Chapter 8:10. At that moment, the song that Daji was playing suddenly carried a murderous aura because Daji thought of that damned fly. It actually circled around her beloved master and disturbed her master's peace. It was truly unforgivable. Bang! A slight sound could be heard, and the veins on the back of Chu Ziming's hands suddenly burst. Yuan Qing, who was at the side, was the same as well. The veins on the back of his hands burst and blood instantly gushed out. However, they could only watch, unable to do anything. Although Lin Tianxin, who was at the back, couldn't feel it, the boundless fear made her sit on the ground. Master and martial uncle actually can't win against her and are about to die. What should I do? Why is the powerful benevolent king prison actually unable to win against a woman? Just what is going on? Just who is that woman and who are those people? Along with Daji's powerful killing intent, the blood vessels under the two's skin burst one after another, especially the rupture of the main arteries. Blood sprayed onto the ground like a fountain, and very quickly, a small pool of blood was formed. However, Chu Ziming and Yuan Qing could only watch as their blood was drained, unable to do anything. Just like what Daji said, letting their blood spill all over the ground, using red to celebrate the meeting and getting to know their master. What a lovely day. Along with Daji's final note. The two suddenly cried out, "No!" Boom. Chu Ziming and Yuan Qing's bodies could be seen exploding, and their blood scattered everywhere. Even Lin Tianxin, who was at the back, was covered with blood. Right now, Daji had her beautiful eyes closed. Killing was secondary. The zither she played just now was just to tell her master how much she looked forward to the arrival of this day. The end of the year had finally arrived, and in the future she wouldn't be lonely anymore. Because she had master, her life became colorful and there was sunlight. Good. Well played. Yihua suddenly shouted out, then clapped his hands to show his praise. If the seven sins were here, they would definitely be unhappy. For the first time, the Supreme Overlord clapped and praised Daji. However, this time Qingya and the other two clapped as well. Daji's song was indeed profound, and this applause was what she deserved. Wan Yi's brain was buzzing, and he who was weak was completely at a loss. He had already fallen into the zither music. Hearing her master's praise, Daji opened her beautiful eyes, and the white zither on her body instantly disappeared. She turned around shyly. "Master, madams are flattering me. I hope that Daji's zither skills can enter your ears." Yihua said with a smile. Daji is being too modest. Her performance is very good, causing those women to want to snatch Daji away from me. Daji walked respectfully to Yihua and knelt down, then said shyly, Daji is masters. Yihua raised his eyebrows at his wives. Do you all see that? Daji is mine, and you all won't be able to snatch her away from me. The three wives pursed their lips. In the future they would try to poach him. Daji, do you know any other talents? Qingya asked curiously. Daji looked at Qingya and said respectfully, Madam, in the past tens of thousands of years, I have learned all kinds of musical instruments, calligraphy, dance, tea ceremony, chess, and so on just to make you smile. Hearing these words, Yihua felt very comfortable in his heart. This bastard is even more eloquent than my subordinates. Yihua stretched out his hand and patted on Daji's head. Not bad. Feeling her master's touch, Daji was so excited that she was trembling. Soon after, Daji lowered her head and said emotionally, Master, Daji was born for you in this life. To be able to make Master happy is what Daji has to do in this life. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were puzzled. Why is this Daji so hell-bent on Yihua? Qing Yutong couldn't help but ask, System, do all summoned characters operate like this? Master, that is indeed correct. When a character's loyalty reaches 100, this kind of situation will occur. Daji's loyalty is clearly above 100. As long as your brother-in-law says the word, she will be able to do anything. Even if she were to commit suicide, she would still feel honored. The heck, this is already a brainless worship. That's right, Master, this is the advantage of the summoning system. However, it is very difficult to achieve this kind of loyalty. Qing Yutong is really envious of brother-in-law. To have such an obedient maid, and the main point is that the maid is proficient in all kinds of musical instruments. I wonder if the maid knows how to play the flute. When the time comes, it should be good to have a duet. Brother-in-law will be extremely happy. Daji, get up. Thank you, Master. Master, are you thirsty? Daji will make tea for you. Sure. Yihua said straightforwardly. Yihua was in a great mood. This Wani is not bad. If it wasn't for me saying that I will go to the martial arts arena, I definitely wouldn't have met such a considerate maid. Yihua took over the tea that Daji brewed and lightly took a sip. The tea is indeed fragrant. Looking at Qingya and the others, Daji was very shy as she sat at the side and carefully brewed the tea. To have such a maid who knows how to kill and take care of others, damn. Daji is much better than those subordinates of mine who only know how to kill. Wani. Yihua called out lightly. Wani was still stupefied. Yihua flicked his finger helplessly and the latter's body trembled. What happened? What happened? Master, you were bewitched just now. Luckily, those people don't have any ill intentions. Hearing what the system said, Wani let out a breath of relief. Seems like Brother is a good person. Wani. Yihua shouted out again. Brother, what happened? Yihua looked towards Lin Tianxin who was outside and said, I will leave that woman for you to deal with. Wan Yi's eyes lit up as he cupped his hands and shouted out earnestly, Thank you, Brother? Wan Yi stood up and walked towards Lin Tianxin. Back then, this woman was extremely obedient towards me, and when she no longer needed me, she would kick me away. As my fiancée, she fooled around with another man. I have long wanted to kill this slut, and now the chance is here. Wan Yi walked in front of Lin Tianxin and picked up Lin Tianxin's sword. Clang! Wan Yi took out the sharp long sword. Meanwhile, Lin Tianxin seemed to have come back to her senses. Looking at Wan Yi's cold look, she couldn't help but take a step back. Wan Yi, what are you trying to do? Slut. What do you think I am trying to do? Wan Yi asked with an evil smile on his face. Looking at Lin Tianxin's fearful look, he felt extremely pleased. If it wasn't for Brother being here today, this woman would have brought the old man to humiliate me. Wan Yi, you can't kill me. I am someone from the benevolent king prison. Lin Tianxin sat on the ground and moved her hands backwards, while Wan Yi walked towards her step by step. So what if it's the benevolent king prison? The people who died here are all people from the benevolent king prison. Lin Tianxin was already leaning against the wall and had nowhere to retreat to. At this moment, Lin Tianxin immediately begged, Wan Yi, have you forgotten that we still have some happy times in the future? Please spare me this time, I won't dare to do it again in the future. It's too late, that is impossible. If you have the ability, let's make a 3-year agreement. If you are able to defeat me 3 years later, I will become your slave. How about it? End of this chapter. Chapter 8:11. Wan Yi coldly snorted. Without any hesitation, The long sword in his hand slit Lin Tianxing's neck. Lin Tianxing covered her neck and looked at Wan Yi in disbelief. A 3-year agreement? You've read too many F*King novels. With a sarcastic smile on his face, Wan Yi walked away without looking back. Lin Tianxing clutched her neck, unable to speak. Her pretty face was deathly pale and her legs twitched slightly. Not long after, she died due to excessive blood loss. The sword-wielding Wan Yi came to the side of the fainted Star Abyss again. This old man was so evil. Today he was even backing up that slut. Since I've already killed him, it doesn't matter if you're one more. Brandishing the sword and stabbing straight at the heart, the dizzy Star Abyss died painlessly. Throwing the sword on the ground, Wan Yi walked back to the main hall. Brother ? It's done. While drinking his tea, Yi Hua nodded his head with a smile and asked, "It will bring you trouble, right?" "It's fine. At most I'll just run away. Today I've gotten my revenge. Feels good." Wan Yi had already thought it through. It was time for him to go out and train. As the main character, he shouldn't continue like this. Perhaps this was the plot's deduction. Daji, go and get rid of those bodies. Yes, master. Yi Hua didn't want to bring trouble to others. In the end, this was his own problem. Furthermore, this could be considered as him thanking Wan Yi for bringing Daji to him. Daji returned in an instant and said in a delicate voice, "Master, it's done." And Daji sure is obedient. Yi Hua gave a verbal performance. Listening to Master is what Daji should do. Master, please stop praising Daji. Haha. On the other hand, Yi Hua was amused by Daji, and even Qinya and Donghuang Baiji laughed lightly. Daji's appearance caused everyone to laugh a bit more, and this might not be a bad thing. What if he went out to take a look and saw that all the corpses had disappeared, even the blood was gone? How did Daji do it? What if? You can be at ease, I won't cause you any trouble. Yi Hua said faintly. Wan Yi was extremely grateful. Brother ? Thank you. What are your plans for the future? Yi Hua asked curiously. Wan Yi took a deep breath and said, Brother ? I'm going to train. Not a bad decision. Men should fight everywhere. Yes, Brother ? You're right. In the past he didn't go out because of the knot in his heart. Now that he was dead, he could go out with peace of mind. Of course, he didn't plan to follow ? Bro and make a name for himself. When Qinya and Donghuang Baiji heard Yi Hua's words, both of them couldn't help but want to ridicule him. You let the children go out and play by yourself and you still want to fight everywhere? I'm afraid that you are fighting us on the bed. Not long after, the Wan clan's gate was barged in. A group of soldiers walked in with spears in their hands, surrounding the front hall. A man wearing silver armor walked in with a gloomy expression. Master, do you need Daji to get rid of these people? Daji said in a sweet voice. Only Daji could use such a tone to talk about killing people. Yi Hua didn't say anything. Daji understood, and thus she knelt at the side and poured more tea for her master and madams. At this time Wan Yi went out to welcome him. With a smile he asked, General Zhang has suddenly come to visit. When will you be? Zhang Jing was the Azure Dragon Empire's great general who was guarding the city. Just now he saw the signal from King Ren prison and thus he rushed over to take a look. However, when he walked in he discovered that there was nothing at all. Did you see anyone from King Ren prison just now? Zhang Jing asked gravely. A few of his subordinates had already gone to the backyard to search. I saw them. Wan Yi said with a smile. Where are they? They left. Zhang Jing took a look at Wan Yi confusedly, and suddenly, his gaze was attracted by a woman who was kneeling on the ground. This woman is so charming. How can there be such a woman in this world? She is even kneeling on the ground and making tea. As for the 4 women who were kneeling on the ground, those 3 women. How can these 4 women look like this? They are simply ridiculously beautiful. Who is that man? General Zhang, these 4 women are my guests. Wan Yi said with a smile. Yi Huaman drank his tea and didn't say anything. Zhang Jing was shocked by the appearance of the 4 women. Not long later, a soldier came over and reported, General Zhang, we searched all of them but we didn't find anything. Zhang Jing retracted his gaze. Wan Yi, don't lie to me. How can that be? I can't afford to offend the people from King Ren prison. Zhang Jing took one last look at the 4 women, then left with his soldiers. Wan Yi pursed his lips and returned to the lobby. Who is this person? Yi Hua asked curiously. Just now, I clearly felt that there was something wrong with that person's gaze. Zhang Jing, the general who guards the city, has a very good relationship with the crown prince. I reckon that. Speaking till here, Wan Yi stopped. Yi Hua knew what Wan Yi wanted to say and said with a smile, Qinya, You two are going to cause trouble for your husband again. Humph, Chinya snorted. Is it my fault for looking like this? Isn't it because I'm giving you face? You've taken all the advantages, yet you're still making sarcastic remarks. Bad guy. On the other hand, Qing Yutong was very happy. Do you guys think that this General Zhang will go and tell the Crown Prince? Wow, Your Highness the Crown Prince, I discovered 4 great beauties, should I capture them? Qing Yutong. What are you doing? Qingya couldn't help but say. You are already someone's wife, yet you are still playing around like this. Yi Hua patted onto the back of Qingya's hand. Don't always blame Yutong. Yutong is already very obedient. Don't lower yourself to the level of a child. Qing Yutong thought that her brother-in-law was speaking up for her, but in the end, brother-in-law, sister, you two can bully me, humph. Daji, let's go play. Madam, Daji still has to serve master, and madam, I can't go and play. Qing Yutong rolled her eyes and sat down angrily. I still feel that playing with Yi Zizi is more interesting. After I go back, I will team up with Yi Zizi and go out to cause trouble. Just like what Qing Yutong had guessed, Zhang Jing immediately entered the palace to meet the Crown Prince. When Zhang Jing walked into the Crown Prince's bedroom, he could hear the sound of women playing around. Aya, my little darling, where are you? Quickly come and give us a hug. Crown Prince, we are here, come and give us a hug. Haha, if you let me hug you, you two will be in for a good time, little mischievous. Crown Prince Gu Haoran could be seen having a slightly plump figure, and currently he was playing around with the palace maids with his eyes covered. Afterward, he hugged onto Zhang Jing and said with a smile, Haha, this Crown Prince is finally going to hug you. Let's see where you can run to. After finished speaking, he even spanked onto Zhang Jing's butt. This made Zhang Jing feel very awkward, while the palace maids laughed continuously. Gu Haoran seemed to have felt that there was a problem with his hands, thus he took off his eye mask and the corner of his mouth twitched. General Zhang, when did you come? Your Highness, this general has something to report to you. Zhang Jing said in a deep voice, then gestured to the palace maids that were at the side. Gu Haoran smiled, then waved his hand and shouted, all of you can leave first. The palace maids respectfully left, and only Gu Haoran and Zhang Jing were left. Gu Haoran poured a cup of tea for himself, then drank it and asked, what's the matter? What kind of beauty did you discover? End of this chapter. Chapter 8:12. Your Highness, I have indeed discovered a peerless beauty today, Zhang Jing said with a different kind of excitement. Hearing Zhang Jing's words, Gu Haoran chuckled. With your eyesight, you might be able to describe any ghost as beautiful. Crown Prince, there's no mistake this time. Those 4 women are truly devastatingly beautiful. Oh, this general feels that there are no words to describe her beauty. Each of them has their own merits. She is the most beautiful woman this general has ever seen in his life. Zhang Jing was speaking from the bottom of her heart. Compared to the other 4 women, she even doubted whether her wife was a female. This time, Gu Haoran's interest was piqued. He wanted to see what she looked like. It had to be said that Daji's passive ability to draw aggro was not for nothing, but to be able to look like this, it was all because she could draw aggro. For a woman like Yi Hua to be able to obtain even a single one of them was a gift from the heavens. And for Yi Hua to be able to obtain 4 of them, how could people not be jealous of him? Where? Gu Haoran asked curiously. I'll be a guest at the Wan residence, Zhang Jing said respectfully. Gu Haoran rubbed his forehead and murmured, recently, my brothers have been eyeing this Crown Prince covetously. If I leave the palace now, I will definitely attract trouble. Crown Prince, why don't we invite them into the palace? Zhang Jing suggested. There has to be a reason. Isn't the palace hosting a banquet to entertain the warden of King Ren Penitentiary? Zhang Jing reminded him in a low voice. Gu Haoran frowned slightly. What if the people of the benevolent king's prison take a liking to him? Then let's go with the flow and ensure that the Crown Prince ascends to the throne. Gu Haoran suddenly laughed and said, Zhang Jing, your brain is getting more and more active. You can even think of such a way. The Crown Prince's luck is as good as the heavens. Even without him, he can still smoothly ascend to the throne. Go and arrange it. Yes. Zhang Jing left respectfully. Gu Haoran stretched his neck and shouted, come on in. Let's start the game. The palace maids walked in again and played hide and seek. Zhang Jing rushed to the Wan clan without stopping. This time she didn't bring any troops. Right now, Yi Hua was currently listening to music with his wives in the garden. The one who was playing the music was naturally Daji, and even Qing Yutong, who loved to make trouble, was mesmerized by the music. From this, it could be seen just how deep Daji's foundation in music was. And Wani was lucky enough to hear such a song. The system even told him that his experience points increased very quickly. Let Master listen more. At this time, Zhang Jing also came to the garden. She heard the beautiful melody from afar and stood on the stone bridge in a daze. A pair of eyes looked at Daji, who was playing. Every movement, every expression, and even every gaze of hers was filled with charm. It could even make one unable to look away. Her slender fingers could actually be so beautiful. It was as if he wanted to rush up and kneel on the ground to lick her slender fingers. That would be a very satisfying thing. The temptation of Daji was quite strong, and it was doubled when she played it. Even Zhang Jing, who had fought a bloody battle on the battlefield, was mesmerized. He couldn't help but want to lick her. Daji would look at her master from time to time, her gaze filled with infinite shyness. If she could snuggle up to her master's feet, it would be such an honor. Yihua sipped on the wine and listened to the song leisurely. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji had a smile on their faces. They felt that Daji was indeed extraordinary, and they found the right maid. I heard that Daji's culinary skills are very good too. I can finally relax now. I have already served Yihua for a few years, it is time for me to take a break. He even wants me to wash his socks. He is truly a super lazy man. When the last note of the song ended, Daji stood up with a respectful smile. Master, do you like Daji's music? It is very good. Daji, you have to develop in this area in the future. Let me relieve my boredom. Yihua said lightly and gave Daji encouragement. This made Daji very excited. After all, she had obtained her master's approval. Master, don't worry, Daji will learn more songs in the future. Zhang Jing recovered from her daze. That woman who is playing the song is actually that man's maid? How is this possible? He actually used such a beautiful woman as his maid. No man would be able to tolerate such a thing happening. Such a woman shouldn't belong to a single person, she belongs to the entire Kangluo continent. Yihua had long sensed that General Zhang had come. With how beautiful his wife and maid are, if I didn't come, then I really have no taste. General Zhang's presence brings light to my humble abode once again. Wani stood up and cupped his hands as he shouted. Zhang Jing laughed heartily, patted on Wan Yi's shoulder, then cupped his hands towards Daji and said, "The song that young lady played can only be found in the heavens, it makes me feel ashamed." Daji looked towards Yihua. Master told Daji to kill this man, and Daji will only accept praise from Master and Madam. If other people were to praise Daji, it would be looking down on Daji. Yihua didn't say anything, he wanted to see what General Zhang wanted to do. Daji could only obey. If Master were to nod his head, this General Zhang's head would immediately fall without any hesitation. If you have anything to say, just say it. Qingya said faintly. Zhang Jing was able to understand. For a woman who looks like this, it is normal for her to be a bit cold and arrogant. His Highness the Crown Prince invites the 4 ladies to attend a banquet in the palace. All right. Qing Yutong agreed without even thinking. Qingya glared at her little sister. How can you agree so casually? Look at how your brother-in-law didn't even agree to it. When you are outside you have to listen to men, how can you be so careless? Zhang Jing hurriedly said, then the Crown Prince will be waiting for the 4 ladies in the palace, I will take my leave now. After finished speaking, Zhang Jing left. Seeing that her brother-in-law's expression seemed to be very bad, Qing Yutong thought that her brother-in-law was angry. Brother-in-law, I'm sorry, you can hit Yutong. Qing Yutong hurriedly admitted her mistake. Being mischievous is one thing, but one cannot cross the line. Qingya hurriedly pleaded for her little sister. Yihua, Yutong didn't do it on purpose, don't be angry. That's right, Yutong is still young. Donghuang Baiji also spoke up. Qing Yutong pouted her small mouth in grievance. Brother-in-law, Yutong is still young, she doesn't know much. Yihua suddenly slammed onto the table, giving the 3 women a shock. They thought that Yihua was going to marry Yu Qingtong. There is actually no part for me. Yihua shouted out gravely. Everyone, I thought that Yihua was angry because Qing Yutong made the decision on her own, but it turns out that Yihua was angry because Qing Yutong didn't invite him. Qing Yutong let out a sigh of relief. I was scared to death, brother-in-law is still very scary when he is angry. Alright, don't be angry anymore, we will just not go, we will accompany you tonight. Qingya consoled Qing Yutong as if she was coaxing a little child. No need, you guys go. I want to see what that crown prince is going to play. Yihua originally planned to go together with them and show off for a bit, but since Qing Yutong didn't invite him and he still went, it would seem like he lost his face. End of this chapter. Chapter 8:13. Yihua said faintly, "All of you should go tonight and amaze them. Do these ordinary people know what beauty is? It is best to create some trouble." When Qing Yutong heard this, she immediately agreed, "Brother-in-law, don't worry. Yutong is experienced in creating trouble. How big do you want? Yutong, how big can you make it? Yihua, don't let Yutong create trouble. What's so good about a banquet in the palace? We will accompany you at home." Donghuang Baiji said gently. "All of you go, don't embarrass me. It is decided. Daji, follow the madam well tonight." "Master, Daji understands," Daji said respectfully. "If I am slightly worried not about these 4 question marks but about those nobles. 4 question marks. Just thinking about it is terrifying. Daji, come and help me massage my shoulders." Yihua said faintly. "Such a beautiful maid, of course I have to try out my skills." Daji looked towards the madam and thought that the madam was going to stop him. Who knew that the madams didn't stop him? They knew that even if they didn't let Daji massage his shoulders now, Yihua would secretly let Daji massage his shoulders in the future. This Daji is really worried. To be more accurate, she is worried about Yihua. Maids naturally have to serve him when he goes to bed. Yihua was just joking. He didn't expect his wives to agree. Not bad as expected of my wives." Daji walked towards Yihua shyly and stood behind him. Looking at her master's back, Daji's heartbeat started speeding up. His shoulders seemed to be able to carry the entire world. "Oh my god, I am about to touch master's shoulders. I'm so excited. I feel like my life has reached its climax." Daji, who was trembling in excitement, stretched out her arms and lightly placed them on her master's shoulders. She felt like she was electrocuted. Her body couldn't help but tremble as if she had already reached her climax. Lightly rubbing her master's shoulders, Daji asked, "Master, is this strength okay?" "Yes, my skills are not bad. Thank you for your praise, master. This is what I should do." Yihua smiled and said to Qinya and Donghuang Baiji, "You two can try too, Daji's skills are not bad." Yihua's 2 wives rolled their eyes at Yihua. The sky gradually darkened. A carriage arrived at the entrance of the Wan residence, claiming that it was arranged by the crown prince. Qinya had no choice but to participate. "Wait, come back here," Yihua said gravely. "What's wrong?" Qinya asked curiously. "Look at what the 2 of you are wearing. Quickly go and change into a set of better-looking clothes." Yihua felt that the 2 of them could become even more beautiful, so he hurriedly told them to go and change into a set of better-looking clothes. "It's pretty good. There's no need to change." Yihua directly held onto his 3 wives' hands, then called Daji over and walked towards the room. Yihua personally picked out clothes for the 3 wives. Since they were already an old couple, there was no need for them to hide anything and change their clothes in front of Yihua. Daji, on the other hand, didn't change for a long time. "I feel so shy. Yihua, what are you still standing here for? Hurry up and go out, Daji is about to change her clothes." Donghuang Baiji laughed. "Looking at how shy that Daji is, it seems like she is a good girl." Daji hurriedly explained, "Madam, master doesn't have to go out. I'll change it now." "Alright, I'll go out first," Yihua said faintly, then walked out of the room. "I, the Supreme Overlord, am not that anxious. In any case, she is my maid and I will have a lot of opportunities in the future." Daji was feeling regretful in her heart. "If only I had plucked up my courage to take off my clothes just now. I am really useless." After the 4 women finished changing their clothes, they took a look at each other and the corner of their mouths twitched slightly. Ordinary dresses were rather loose, and this kind of dress was made just like a cheongsam. It looked strange but very sexy. "What is this Yihua thinking to actually make us dress like this?" Qinya pouted her mouth. "It has been a long time since I dressed like this and it feels a bit awkward. Recently, I seem to have developed a bit more and my chest feels a bit heavy." Donghuang Baiji laughed tenderly. "You still don't know him, he just wants to see other people's envious gazes, then suddenly appear and display his ownership. After that, we will cooperate and attach ourselves to him, thus achieving the effect of acting cool." As expected, he just likes to act cool. This bad habit of his will never be able to be changed in this lifetime. Qinya said helplessly. In the past, Yihua suffered from acting cool after smoking syndrome, and now that he smoked less, there was no way for him to act cool anymore. Thus he used his wives to act cool. This is simply too shameless. When Qing Yutong, who was at the side, saw that Daji was still buttoning her clothes, she walked over with a cheeky smile. "Daji, you don't know how to button your clothes?" "Madam, I can't hook my back," Daji said apologetically. "Fine, I will help you zip it up." Qing Yutong followed along Daji's perky butt and pulled up the zipper. Daji's sexy back was immediately covered by a pair of clothes. What a pity. Daji hurriedly turned around and said respectfully, "Madam, Daji is ashamed for asking you to help me." Qin Yutong said with a smile, "Daji, it's fine." After finished speaking, Qin Yutong even lifted up Daji's chin, looking very flirtatious. Meanwhile, Daji was a bit afraid. What is Madam trying to do? Qin Yutong. You are bullying others again. Qinye was originally chatting with Donghuang Baiji, and when she suddenly saw that her little sister was bullying others, she couldn't help but start scolding Donghuang Baiji. Qin Yutong hurriedly stopped and said with a smile, "Big sister, Daji's face is a bit dirty, let me help you wipe it." Qin Yutong, you better be careful that I don't spank your butt. Qinye gave a stern warning. Qin Yutong stuck out her tongue, then blinked her beautiful eyes towards Daji, looking very flirtatious. Daji slightly lowered her head and did not speak anymore. When he saw his 3 wives and a maid walking out, he couldn't help but become absent-minded. Oh my beautiful. Too beautiful. As expected of my woman, she definitely won't lose face. Are you satisfied now? Qinye said petulantly. Ah, satisfied. Yihua stretched out his hand and hugged onto Qinye's waist, then lightly kissed onto Qinye's soft cherry lips. Qinye did not feel shy and hugged onto Yihua's neck. Yihua naturally had to give Donghuang Baiji and Qin Yutong the same treatment. This caused Daji, who was at the side, to feel extremely envious. If I am able to kiss the back of my master's hand, I will be extremely happy. If I am able to kiss my master's lips, I will even wake up from my sleep laughing. Yihua naturally wouldn't take advantage of Daji, but he still patted onto Daji's head and said lightly, "Take good care of Madam." After being patted onto the head by her master so gently, Daji became completely stupefied. She even forgot how she walked out of Wan residence, and when she sat on the carriage she had a completely stupefied look on her face. Qinye and the others saw this. This Daji, she became so stupefied after being patted on the head by her husband. We are truly speechless. Meanwhile, at the entrance of Wan residence, Yihua watched as his wives left. End of chapter. Chapter 8:14. They were always following him, so it was time for him to have some fun. What if? Yihua shouted out faintly. Brother ? What's wrong? There is a void empire in the north. It is very safe there. You can arrange for your parents to do business there. Yihua reminded. If we continue to stay here, something bad will definitely happen. After all, my parents are just ordinary people, right? Wani instantly understood what brother ? meant. This brother ? was really a good person. And I understand. Yihua nodded his head, then walked into the house. Tonight I will let them out and have some fun. With him by their side, they couldn't let go of themselves. Why did she feel like a tyrant, suppressing them every day? On the other side, Qinye, who was inside the car, took out the face veil that she had prepared beforehand and put it on. After the 4 women put on the face veil, it truly added a different kind of charm to the atmosphere. The coachman was still in a daze. It was the first time he had seen such a woman. When he first came out, he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. Because it was the crown prince's carriage, it entered the imperial palace unimpeded. This palace is so lame. Qin Yutong teased. Compared to Wuxia Empire's imperial palace, this place was basically nothing. There was basically no aura of an emperor. Do you think that everyone is as pretentious as your brother-in-law? Qinye laughed. Sister, how can you think that brother-in-law is acting cool? Brother-in-law is just powerful. He doesn't need to act cool at all. He is just acting cool. Following Qin Yutong's words, the carriage became quiet for a moment. Then joyful laughter burst out and even Daji laughed. It was only because Yihua wasn't here that Qin Yutong dared to ridicule Yihua like this. If Yihua was here, how would Qin Yutong dare to ridicule Yihua? This was also the reason why Yihua told his wives to go out and play by themselves. There were some things that they didn't dare to say in front of me, fearing that I would lose my temper. Sure, Yutong, aren't you afraid that I would go and complain about you? To actually dare to scold Yihua like that. Donghuang Baiji said with a smile. Qin Yutong spread out her hands. In any case, brother-in-law isn't here, so let us ridicule him. Big sister, you go first. I won't say any more. Qinye pursed her lips, seemingly not daring to say anything. Just say it. We're all on the same side. It's not easy for us to come out for a breather. Qin Yutong hurriedly persuaded, I really want to hear how big sister roast brother-in-law. It has already been so many years, it is impossible for her to not roast brother-in-law. And also, big sister Baiji, I don't believe that they will not have any complaints. Go ahead. It seemed like Chinya still didn't want to say it. I'm really afraid that I might accidentally say everything out. Qin Yutong's eyes lit up. Daji? Madam, Daji replied respectfully. The things that we are going to talk about next, don't tell your brother-in-law. Qin Yutong's eyebrows twitched, and with a, if you dare to tell on me, I will bully you to death look. Daji nodded. Ladies, don't worry. I won't tell master. Good girl. Qin Yutong laughed, then said towards Chinya, Big sister, you can say it now, I guarantee that no one will tell brother-in-law about it. Chinya pouted her mouth, if you dare to tell your brother-in-law about this, I will kill you. Alright, we are all on the same boat, how can I tell brother-in-law about this? Qin Yutong said while patting on her chest. Chinya took a breath, and the three women looked towards Chinya. Yihua, this bastard. Donghuang Baiji, Qin Yutong, Daji, the three women didn't expect that Chinya's first sentence would be to scold Yihua. In actuality, Chinya had already held it in for a long time, and now that she said it out, she felt much more comfortable in her heart. This bastard always likes to force me to do things that I am not willing to do, and when I refuse to do it, he still scolds me for being soft-hearted. He only knows how to lecture me all day long. Everything that he says is right, even if he is wrong, he still has to say that he is right. If you refute him, he will be fierce towards you. There were a few times that I wanted to cry, why did I meet such a man, and now he even sent my child away. Bastard, I will beat him up every time I see him. Chinya said a lot of things and she felt very happy, just like how a slave turned over and became a master. When Chinya raised her head, she was immediately startled. She saw Donghuang Baiji, Qin Yutong, and Daji looking at her dumbfoundedly as if they had seen a ghost. Big sister, I finally know what it means to be a resentful woman. Qin Yutong mumbled. Big sister's resentment isn't just a little big, to actually be suppressed by brother-in-law like this. Chinya suddenly felt very embarrassed, as if the little secret in my heart was known by others. You still dare to speak. It's all your rotten idea. Chinya said petulantly. I wonder how brother-in-law will feel after hearing big sister's words, he should be able to comprehend it deeply. You dare to speak. Watch how I whip you to death. Chinya pinched onto Qin Yutong's ear. If Yihua were to find out about this, he would definitely scold me to death, to actually speak ill of him behind his back. Qin Yutong hurriedly surrendered. I was just joking, big sister, don't get agitated. Chinya snorted, then gave her little sister a death stare. If you dare to speak, you are done for. Big sister Baiji, it's your turn. Qin Yutong asked curiously. Donghuang Baiji took a deep breath. This Yihua. Everyone looked at Donghuang Baiji without blinking, very curious about what Donghuang Baiji was going to say next. I really fucking want to put him on the ground, then fiercely kick his butt and let him know how powerful I am. Every day he acts as if he is the #1 in the world and nothing can go against him. If it weren't for me being his wife and cursing him behind his back every day, do you know how ruthless Yihua is? Other people's spanking is considered flirting, but when he spanks, he is really spanking. It is clearly his own fault, but he still wants us, his wives, to take the blame. He is always talking about some twisted reasoning. If you don't hear it, you wouldn't understand. In his eyes, I am just someone to show off to others, to show off how beautiful his women are. Look at what we are wearing today. If we don't wear what we are wearing, look at him, he will definitely get angry. Also, the things that we are not willing to do, he would try his best to make us do it. He even said that he doesn't lie to others, and what he likes to do the most is to lie to his own wife. Every night he would be like a bull, not stopping until he makes you collapse, not caring whether you are comfortable or not, a typical male chauvinist, overbearing and crazy. Chinya. That day when we put a gunny sack on him and fiercely beat him up, just thinking about it makes me angry. Hearing Donghuang Baiji's resentment, Chinya nodded her head, more or less completed the things that she didn't say. Daji swallowed her saliva, thinking in her heart, should I tell master that the madams are preparing to deal with you, and they even said that they are going to put a gunny sack on you and beat you up? Why do the madams want to beat master? From what the madams said, master seems to be very bad. Alright Yutong, it's your turn, don't think about dodging. Qin Yutong had an indifferent look on her face as she said, I feel that brother-in-law is rather good, he is very concerned about me, I like brother-in-law, I like him very much. End of this chapter. Chapter 8:15. Omega. After saying that, Qin Yutong stopped talking. After saying that, Qing Yutong stopped talking. That's all? Dong Huang Baiji asked in surprise. That's all. Qing Yutong cried out in surprise. Qing Ya slapped onto her little sister's head. I asked you to roast, not praise him. Ouch, big sister, it hurts and messed up my hairstyle. Qing Yutong said pitifully. Hurry up and speak. Alright, I'll roast, alright? Qing Yutong pouted and said lightly, brother-in-law, the bad thing about him is that he likes to mess with me from night to day. It's so annoying, the more I beg him, the more excited he gets. I might as well just treat him as a corpse and not speak, and as expected it's a bit better, it's so painful. Hearing Qing Yutong's words, Qing Ya and Dong Huang Baiji's faces turned red. This flaw of his is simply a role model of an incapable ruler, all of his flaws are gathered on him. Daji's face turned red. So master is so amazing to be able to mess with me from night to day, I really envy the madams, they should be very happy. But just now the madams seem to be very hateful. Madams, Daji wants to ask if it's okay? Go ahead. Qing Ya said faintly. Since master is so bad, why do the madams still like master? Daji asked curiously. The three women looked at each other, then said in unison, because he's coquettish. After finished speaking, the three women laughed. Yi Hua belonged to the coquettish type. On the surface he looks like a decent person, but when he's coquettish, it's simply unbearable. Rachel. Yi Hua, who was sitting on the ground and pondering, sneezed, then muttered, these three women are definitely speaking bad things about me, I'll just let you all have a taste of it. Daji didn't understand, what does coquettish have to do with liking? Miss, we have arrived. The coachman shouted respectfully from outside. Daji took the lead and walked out of the carriage, then helped the madams down the carriage one by one. This was what a maid should do. Four women who were wearing veils stood at the entrance of the main palace, and there were more than 10 imperial guards standing at the entrance. Although it was night, the moonlight shone on the four women's bodies, revealing a hazy beauty. And with the veils, the imperial guards became a bit absent-minded. A eunuch ran out and said, ladies, please come in, the emperor and the crown prince are waiting for you. Emperor? Dong Huang Baiji thought that it was only the crown prince's banquet. Dong Huang Baiji thought that it was only the crown prince's banquet. He had already come all the way here. Was he going to turn back? If he really turned back, there would probably be a fight. Qing Ya said tenderly, let's go in and take a look. Qing Ya was. And Qing was. Right. Qing was Qing and Qing. Right. Then. The palace and the palace. There were Qing there. And there. There and there. There were two empty seats next to Chu Yuxuan. They should be Chu Ziming and Yuan Qing, but they probably wouldn't be able to make it. Sitting at the very top was the emperor. The Ping. On the lower left was the crown prince, Gu Haoran. The young man beside Gu Haoran was the third prince, Gu Cha, who was Gu Haoran's rival. He had always wanted to take down the crown prince, but he had never found an opportunity. Prison Warden Chu, this dance is not bad, right? The one leading the dance is our Azure Dragon Empire's beauty, Puyu. Emperor Gu Pai was an old man. When he smiled, he gave people a bad feeling. He was commonly known as the bad old man. It was normal for him to fawn on Chu Yuxuan. After all, Chu Yuxuan was the famous prison warden. Puyu was pretty. When she was dancing, she would look at Chu Yuxuan from time to time. Chu Yuxuan was the youngest prison warden of Ring King Prison. He had a bright future. He was said to be a heavenly law expert. Chu Yuxuan didn't know if it was true. If Chu Yuxuan took a liking to her, she would become a phoenix. Chu Yuxuan took a look at Puyu, and the latter lowered her head shyly. Chu Yuxuan sneered in his heart. How can I, Chu Yuxuan, look at her? I, Chu Yuxuan, fell off a cliff when I was 3 and found a celestial cave. When I was 6, I obtained an ancient scroll. When I was 10, I reached the Doshir realm. When I was 13, I slapped everyone who looked down on me. When I was 18, I became the prison warden. In the eyes of others, I am just a first-ranked Doshir. But I am already at the peak of the king realm. I can split the earth. I can split the mountain. I can lick with my tongue. How can this kind of woman be worthy of me, Chu Yuxuan? What a joke. My woman is unparalleled in the world. She is one of a kind. She is so beautiful that she makes people feel suffocated. Unfortunately, I have never met one. It's okay. Chu Yuxuan took a sip of the thick jade wine and said. Hearing Chu Yuxuan's words, Puyu was a little disappointed. Is he looking down on me? Gu Pai laughed. Warden Chu, you are young and promising. Cheers to you. After saying that, Gu Pai picked up the wine cup and drank it. Chu Yuxuan didn't move. Gu Pai didn't mind. Under normal circumstances, the people of Rin King Prison weren't ordinary. Chu Yuxuan looked at the seats beside him. They should be faster than him. Why aren't they here yet? It's good that they didn't come. They are burdens anyway. After the dance, Gu Pai waved his hand. The dancers slowly walked down. Before Puyu left, he didn't forget to look at Chu Yuxuan. Why doesn't he like me? When Puyu left the hall, he happened to see Qingya and the others walking up the stairs. He was slightly surprised. The aura of these women was not bad. Although he couldn't see them clearly because of the veil, they shouldn't be bad. Wait, what are these 4 women doing here? Could it be that their purpose is the same as mine? Damn it, why didn't I think of that? Wearing the veil would be even more attractive. I'm really stupid. Puyu snorted coldly and left with arrogant steps. In the palace, Gu Haoren stood up and said, Father Emperor Warden Chu, speaking of beauties, I have found a few recently. How about I let Warden Chu and Father Emperor have a look? Gu Cha, who was sitting at the side, said faintly, Is your Highness Crown Prince looking for beauties recently? It must have been hard on you. Gu Haoren's face sunk. He really wanted to beat this half-brother of his to death. Gu Pai said gravely, Crown Prince. How many times have I told you, why don't you do your job properly? Father Emperor, how about you scold me after taking a look? Gu Haoren could only place his hopes on Zhang Jing. He hoped that Zhang Jing's eyesight wouldn't be too bad. Otherwise, not only would he lose face today, he would also be taught a lesson by Father Emperor. Gu Pai waved his hand, indicating that he would let them in. Gu Haoren looked at Zhang Jing, who was not far away. The latter gave him a resolute look, telling Crown Prince to be at ease. For ladies, please come in. The eunuch shouted. The door slowly opened and Qingya and the other 3's figures gradually appeared. Baidu search 881 Chinese website yen. No advertising words. Chapter 8:16. Just by looking at their figures, I can tell that they are out of the ordinary. They are too enchanting. This kind of women definitely can't be too bad. Looking at those beautiful eyes, they are as clear as a stream. It is even more certain that they are beauties. Although they are all wearing a veil, it is unable to hide that kind of charm. Chu Yuxuan was a bit surprised. These 4 women are so mysterious. That kind of high and mighty temperament is truly unique. Not bad, not bad. They are much stronger than that dancer just now. I can't even compare with them. Of course, it was Gu Haoren's first time seeing these 4 women as well. Even if he didn't see their faces, Gu Haoren was still quite surprised. This Zhang Jing can be considered to have done a good deed. To be able to find these kind of women, he really has good eyesight. Gu Cha was the same. With just a look, I can tell that these 4 women are not ordinary beauties. This kind of temperament is just like a fairy. Where did this crown prince find these 4 women from? Emperor Gu Pai was also a bit absent-minded. Although he is already old towards women, he is still able to do it like a young man. This woman is not bad, but when he thought about how the crown prince actually hid this kind of woman, he was a bit angry. He actually didn't offer them to his father, but instead wanted the people of Rin King Prison to offer them to him. It is obvious that he is trying to rope in Rin King Prison. Seems like the crown prince already can't wait to get his own throne. The ministers were also incomparably shocked, seemingly intoxicated, not knowing what kind of situation it would be if they were to reveal their appearances. Qing Yutong took a look at the surroundings. Master, I didn't discover the owner of the system. Qing Yutong was a bit disappointed. I thought that there would be the owner of the system. However, these people are looking at me lecherously. They are truly looking for a beating, especially that emperor. I really want to poke his eyeballs out. Good. This is what a beauty is. Chu Yuxuan suddenly shouted out and actually took the lead to applaud. Everyone naturally followed suit, and immediately, a warm applause sounded out. Puyu, who had not walked far away, heard the applause coming from the palace behind him, and he felt depressed in his heart. I tried so hard to dance, yet I didn't receive any applause before I left, but they did. The few women could feel that the tallest person here wasn't the emperor, but this man. This man is even a bit handsome, looks like a jade tree in the wind, seems very calm, and belongs to that kind of mature youth. Ladies, I am the warden of Benevolence Prison, Chu Yuxuan. It is my honor to be able to meet the 4 of you today. After saying that, Chu Yuxuan waited for the 4 beauties to show their admiration for him. The position of warden of the Benevolent King's Penitentiary. If such a position was released, many beauties would want to climb into his bed. Just like that unpolished jade just now. As long as he said the word, he would kneel and lick his boots tonight. But there was no reaction at all, as if he had heard a joke. This made Chu Yuxuan feel very awkward. But thinking about how she was a beautiful woman, It was inevitable for her to be a little arrogant. Or perhaps she was just pretending. Qingyu was slightly surprised. I met another person from the Ren King prison. It seems like the official title is rather high. Also, what is a person from the Ren King prison doing here? Ladies, can you take off your veils? Chu Yuxuan asked in a leisurely manner. He seemed like a handsome and elegant man. Qingya and the others continued to remain silent. Who do you all think you are? To actually dare to ask us to take off our veils? Is that even possible? This time, Chu Yuxuan's expression was a bit ugly. What kind of woman would dare to be so arrogant in front of him? She was simply asking for a yard after being given an inch. Seeing Chu Yuxuan's expression darken, Gu Haoren hurriedly said, "Ladies, please do us a favor. This is the famous Chu Yuxuan. Warden Chu." Gu Pai didn't say anything. He wanted to use women to curry favor with Chu Yuxuan, but now he had offended him. "Crown Prince, I want to see how you will redeem yourself." Before Gu Haoren could continue to persuade him, Gu Cha said with a smile, "Your Royal Highness, the beauty you invited doesn't seem to give our Warden Chu any face. Don't tell me he did it on purpose." Gu Haoren almost couldn't help but slap him. This despicable and shameless villain actually dared to twist his words. Sure enough, when Chu Yuxuan heard this, he saw Gu Haoren. "You called him over? Did you call him over just to disgust me?" Gu Haoren was greatly alarmed, and he wanted nothing more than to rush over and tear him to shreds. However, among the four women, Qin Yutong suddenly raised her hand and touched towards her veil. Everyone's mood was lifted. A beautiful woman taking off her veil, this kind of thing is very pleasurable. It is just like watching a beautiful woman taking off her clothes. All of the men looked at Qin Yutong without taking their eyes off of her. Meanwhile, Qin Yutong stretched out her hand and scratched her sideburns. Just now there was a slight itch, but soon after she put down her hand. Everyone had the urge to beat someone up. Don't think that just because you all are beautiful women we won't beat you all up. Even if you all are beautiful women, you all should know when to stop. Lady, enough is enough. Chu Yuxuan said gravely. I am a little angry now. Qin Yutong stretched out her hand once again. Everyone had already been tricked once, so they were very angry. Are you trying to play with us again? However, this time, Qin Yutong wasn't joking around and she really took off her veil. Everyone looked at the veil that was slowly falling off, and they were already unable to move their eyes away. What kind of face is that? This is simply not a face that an ordinary person should have. It is too perfect. I'm already unable to think of any adjectives to describe it. Every single part of that face seemed to have been meticulously sculpted, and there wasn't the slightest bit of deviation. Every single part complemented each other, achieving a kind of astonishing beauty. Beautiful, truly beautiful. Everyone was dumbstruck, including Chu Yuxuan. There is actually such a beauty in this world. Seems like this is going to be my woman. As expected, fortuitous encounters keep on happening, and they are all arranged beforehand. Gu Haoren was a little stupefied. This Zhang Jing. If I had known that she was this beautiful, I wouldn't have left her at this time. I would have kept her for myself, idiot. Too beautiful, and this is only one. What about the other three? I can't take it anymore. Is she beautiful? Qin Yutong asked lightly. Everyone seemed to have been bewitched, and they unconsciously nodded their heads, just like puppets. This was a look of being conquered by beauty, who asked them to have never seen a beauty before. It has already been a very long time since Qin Yutong enjoyed this kind of gaze. I remember that when I was a celebrity in the past, these people were just like my little fans. Unfortunately, after I met brother-in-law, I didn't have the chance to enjoy this kind of gaze anymore. These stinky men, when they see a beauty, they all have this kind of expression, truly disgusting. Take a seat. Emperor Gu Pai shouted out loudly. This kind of woman, I am willing to even offer up the country. Qingya and the others took a seat, and a palace maid came over to serve them, but was stopped by Daji. The madams can serve them ourselves, there is no need for you all to do it. Although they only saw one, it was already enough to satisfy everyone's mood. As for the remaining three, let's take it slow, just like drinking wine, only then will it be interesting. Young lady, where did you come from? Chu Yuxuan asked curiously. Wuxia Empire. Qin Yutong said with a slight smile, and this smile immediately caused a lot of people to become absent-minded. Chapter 8:17. This kind of smile was like a ray of warm sunlight shining in their hearts. It was very warm. But what the hell was Wuxia Empire? Why had they never heard of it before? Chu Yuxuan rarely went to places like Northern Liang, so he didn't know at all. He smiled. Although I am not very knowledgeable, This is the first time I have heard of Wushu Empire. That's right, this is also the first time we have heard of it. Gu Haoran hurriedly replied, he mustn't let prison warden Chu feel awkward. Qing Yutong said indifferently, Sai, it is normal that you guys don't know about such a good place. Her meaning was very obvious. You country bumpkins don't even know about Wushu Empire, you are too weak. Lady, why don't you tell us about it and let us broaden our horizons? Chu Yuxuan smiled, he didn't take it to heart. How could a woman have seen such a big scene? Such an empire? It is more than 10 times bigger than this place, just the city wall alone is hundreds of feet tall, the emperor there is handsome and imposing, you guys won't understand even if I tell you. Then where is this Wushu Empire? We can go and take a look. Gucha asked curiously. It is in the north of northern Liang. I heard that all of northern Liang's forces moved out this time, but they didn't gain any advantage and they were all defeated by Wushu Empire, it was so miserable. Qing Yutong started bragging again. Such news caused everyone's expression to change slightly. How is this possible? Is this still just an empire? That is definitely because Tianliang's sect didn't participate in the war. Gu Pai smiled, he wouldn't believe it. Tianliang's sect lost 200,000 disciples at the entrance of Shueisha city, it is so terrifying. Qing Yutong narrated with fear, this is quite interesting. Although I don't know if it is true or false, I will definitely send people to investigate. Madam, Daji has tried it, please don't worry and drink. Daji said softly. Although her voice was very soft, she was still heard. Madam? Tried it? Was it poison testing? These 3 women were already married to other people? These are maids? Hearing such a way of addressing them, Chu Yuxuan's heart turned cold. Lady is already married? That's right, she married a man from Wushu Empire, the men there are very outstanding. Chu Yuxuan was not convinced. One day I will definitely go to Wushu Empire to take a look. However, it didn't matter even if she married someone. He could just grab such a woman and use her directly. He didn't care about anything else. You've basically delivered yourself to my doorstep. To be humiliated by me, Chu Yuxuan, is a glorious thing. If word of this gets out, you'll gain a lot of face. Other women might even get jealous. Sai, who asked him to be so outstanding. At this time, Gu Haoran said, Warden Chu, this girl is beautiful, right? Gu Haoran, well done. I thank you. Chu Yuxuan cupped his hands towards Gu Haoran as if he had already succeeded. This made Gu Cha, who was at the side, very unhappy. Gu Pai, who was on the stage, felt the same. You actually used such a woman as a bribe? Is there something wrong with your head? What could Gu Haoran do? He had thought that what Zhang Jing said was only average. He did not expect it to be like this. At this time, Chu Yuxuan only wanted the banquet to end quickly so that he could bring the 4 women and have a good time tonight. He was indeed a youth with fortuitous encounters, able to encounter all sorts of wonderful things. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were about to die from boredom. It would be better for them to stay at home and accompany Yihua and listen to Yihua brag. At the very least, it would be better than sitting here and daydreaming. Compared to these hypocrites, Yihua was really 10,000 times better. At the very least, he would not be a hypocrite. Suddenly, hurried footsteps rang out from the entrance of the palace, and a man who wore a white gown could be seen directly pushing open the palace door. Just as Gu Pai was about to get angry, he saw the pattern on the man's chest and knew that the man was from 3 Absolute Palace. So it is 3 Absolute Palace's esteemed guest. I apologize for not going out to welcome you. Quickly take a seat, quickly take a seat. As the emperor, Gu Pai naturally had to personally take care of Chu Yuxuan. Chu Yuxuan looked towards the man and said with a light smile, Huayang, what are you doing here? Chu Yuxuan, Warden Chu. It has been a few years since I last saw you and you have grown taller. Huayang laughed in disdain. Huayang, seems like I didn't beat you up enough back then. When Qingya, who was originally drowsy, heard that 3 Absolute Palaces people had come, she immediately became interested. For 2 of Aloe River's major powers to gather in Azure Dragon Empire, there is definitely a problem. Huayang originally wanted to retort back, but when he saw Qing Yutong, he immediately became absent-minded. Such a beautiful woman. In front of such a beautiful woman, I definitely cannot lose face. Perhaps, this beautiful woman will take the initiative to take advantage of me. Just some insignificant tricks, do you think that I can't beat you? Huayang immediately pulled out his sword and pointed it at Chu Yuxuan. The atmosphere in the palace was very tense. Originally, weapons were not allowed to be brought into the palace, but these 2 were both powerful people, so they could only go along with their wishes. Chu Yuxuan also did not fall behind, he immediately pulled out his own sword and pointed it at Huayang. Both of you sit, it is not good to fight and kill. Qingya said lightly. Following Qingya's words, the two young men slightly became absent-minded. This kind of voice is very beautiful. It is filled with a different kind of feeling, as if those who do not listen to her words are unpardonable people. Huayang put away the long sword in his hand and sat at the side. Humph. Chuyuxuan was the same. Everyone did not expect that a woman would actually make the geniuses of two powers stop fighting. It seems like the power of a beautiful woman is really great. Why did you come here this time, can you tell me? Qing Yutong asked. She did not believe that they would not answer. Huayang cupped his hands and said, Young lady, this is the secret report of 3 Absolute Palace. I hope that young lady does not regard me as an outsider. Hehe Huayang, your 3 Absolute Palace really knows how to secretly report. Chuyuxuan could not help but ridicule. Chuyuxuan, stop slandering us. This information was stolen from us by your Ren King prison, and now you are even accusing us. Truly despicable. Huayang angrily rebuked. He had never seen such a despicable person. Why don't you guys fight? Qingya indifferently said. Let's fight then. Who is afraid of who? Chuyuxuan was not afraid at all. Come on. Huayang was the same. Gu Pai hurriedly persuaded. 2 heroes, calm down. Who knew that Chuyuxuan and Huayang pointed at Gu Pai at the same time? Old man, you have no right to speak here. The two of them fiercely looked at each other, then walked out of the palace and arrived at a spacious area below. It was very suitable for fighting. The people in the palace also walked out one after another. This kind of battle between geniuses was very interesting. Qingya and the others also walked out. They definitely came to the Azure Dragon Empire for something. Qingya said indifferently. And furthermore, this matter might be happening in the Azure Dragon Empire. Donghuang Baiji added. Qing Yutong smiled. They are indeed a bit more powerful. It would be good for me to go and make a bet. Qingya raised her hand, and Qing Yutong immediately covered her head, appearing very cute. Madam. There seems to be something sealed beneath the Azure Dragon Empire. Daji could be heard suddenly saying. Chapter 8:18. Hearing what Daji said, the 3 women were obviously a bit shocked. After all, from Daji's tone, the thing that was sealed was not simple. Donghuang Baiji asked softly, Daji, do you know what it is? Madam, Daji only knows that it is a different race. Just now, I felt a trace of aura, but it disappeared very quickly. It should be a sign that the seal is about to be broken. Daji was also a different race, so she could feel the other party's aura. Although it was just for a moment, she could still feel it. However, humans could not feel it. Different race? Qing Yutong asked. Daji, how strong is the thing that was sealed? Qingya asked. Madam, just a trace of aura appeared. Daji is unable to make a correct judgment. Do you want me to call Master over to deal with this? No need. Qingya said decisively. It was rare that Yihua was not by my side. If I can't even deal with this small matter, I will be throwing Yihua's face. Daji did not insist anymore because she saw the determination in the eyes of the 3 madams. Master is so lucky to have 3 wives like this. However, Daji will also try to serve Master well. In front of the palace, Chuyuxuan and Huayang stood facing each other. Chuyuxuan held the white yang saber while Huayang held the falling flower sword. Although these 2 weapons could not be considered the best, they were still relatively rare weapons. From the color of the weapons, it seemed that they had been tempered several times. Huayang is not like back then, crippled by me. Chuyuxuan snorted. A small Dedosher dares to be arrogant? I am a peak Dedosher, killing you in an instant is just a matter of time. A Dedosher's aura immediately erupted from Huayang's body and engulfed the entire palace. This caused Gu Pai and the other royalty to be stunned. Such a young Dedosher is indeed terrifying. Hehe, you still want to compete in Do Chi? Chuyuxuan shouted angrily. A Do Chi that was not any weaker than Huayang spread out and fought against Huayang's Do Chi. Chuyuxuan was originally hiding his strength, so he gradually increased his Do Chi. Huayang, on the other hand, wasn't as lucky as Chuyuxuan. He had worked his way up. Just like a player with money and a normal player, the other player has a lot of things to pay for, but you have nothing in your hands. How are you going to play? Meanwhile, Yihua was the existence of a bug, the kind that could not be fixed. What? Hold on. Chuyuxuan mocked. He could see that his battle chi was completely suppressing Huayang. Everyone in the viewing gallery felt that prison leader Chu was still the strongest. He was indeed worthy of being the youngest prison leader. With this Do Chi he should at least be a rank 4 Dedosher. Crown Prince, it seems like the benevolent king prison is slightly better. Zhang Jing said softly beside Gu Haoran. Yeah, it's not a bad choice to place our hopes on the benevolent king prison. Gu Haoran chuckled. The three absolute hall was indeed powerful, but compared to the benevolent king prison, it was still slightly inferior. Although it was not clear, it was just slightly inferior. Hua Yang was shocked. Wasn't Chu Yuxuan a second-grade dosher? Why was it rank 4 now? This damned intelligence team had tricked him. Hua Yang shouted angrily and his battle energy increased by a lot. He held the long sword in front of him and his fingers slid across the blade. Ice silkworm. The blade of the sword was immediately covered by a layer of ice. However, the ice was not hard and it seemed to be wiggling. It looked very strange and a bit horrifying. Thunder. Hua Yang shouted angrily again. The long sword in his hand slashed out a ray of lightning. However, on the lightning there was actually an ice silkworm. The lightning directly attacked towards Chu Yuxuan. The battle chi was split apart by the strange lightning. Chu Yuxuan said mockingly, Hua Yang, after competing in battle chi you are now competing in techniques. Why are you still the same as before? Chu Yuxuan's figure could be seen instantly disappearing from where he was. His speed was so fast that even Hua Yang couldn't see him clearly. And that lightning directly slashed towards the building behind him. In an instant the building collapsed. Seeing this, Gu Pai's heart ached. My palace? Men quickly go and repair it. Yes. Qingye laughed. This emperor is really stingy. Do you think that everyone is like Yi Hua? He is a tycoon. Dong Huang Baiji laughed helplessly. Only Yi Hua wouldn't feel heartache for these worldly possessions. This Chu Yuxuan is quite something. Qing Yutong was talking about the situation of the battle. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly, no matter how much he has, he is still just a child playing house. Let's just wait for the thing inside the seal. I'm really curious about what that thing is. I heard brother-in-law say that he has 2 subordinates here. I wonder if it is one of them. Qing Yutong mumbled. That is possible. Who knows, we might be able to help Yi Hua find his long-lost subordinates. Dong Huang Baiji covered her mouth and laughed lightly. Hearing what Dong Huang Baiji said, the few women laughed lightly. This caused the men at the side to be dumbfounded. This laughter sure is pleasant to listen to. At the scene, Hua Yang looked around vigilantly. However, Chu Yuxuan's figure was nowhere to be seen. Damn it. This fellow took advantage of the darkness to move at high speed. I am completely unable to determine his position. Hua Yang could be seen raising the ice sword in his hand, then shouted out, 3 ultimate ice seal. The long sword in Hua Yang's hand immediately emitted out a white mist. Whoosh. Everything that came into contact with the mist were all frozen. Furthermore, a human figure could be seen to be frozen, and the human figure was even in a running position. That human figure was precisely Chu Yuxuan, and there was still fear on his face. This scene caused everyone to be stupefied. This Hua Yang was clearly at a disadvantage. How did he suddenly counterattack? Hua Yang let out a sigh of relief, then looked towards Chu Yuxuan who was not far away from him. With a smile on the corner of his mouth he said, Run, why aren't you running anymore? Chu Yuxuan who was frozen could be seen revealing a smile. PFFF. Chu Yuxuan who was frozen actually disappeared. This caused Hua Yang to be startled and a feeling of threat assaulted him. The ice sword in Hua Yang's right hand immediately drew out a beautiful arc clang. Chu Yuxuan's blade fiercely hacked onto Hua Yang's sword, causing the ground beneath Hua Yang's feet to crack, and even the ice sword started to crack. Your reaction isn't bad, but you should know that I was going easy on you. Chu Yuxuan laughed frivolously. I was indeed going easy on you just now. No need. Hua Yang shouted out coldly. The long sword in his hand fiercely swung out, and another beautiful sword chi slid across the simple and unadorned palace. Your Majesty! Your Majesty! Summon the imperial physician, the emperor has fainted. Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji couldn't stop laughing, and they actually fainted from anger. A rank 2 great doshers 2 sword chi had destroyed almost a quarter of the palace. How could they not feel heartache? Chu Yuxuan lightly leapt backwards. Hua Yang, you are no longer my opponent right now. After all, the distance between us has increased. Stop acting cool here. Hua Yang held onto his sword with both of his hands and fiercely stabbed it into the ground. Chapter 8:19. Thousand Elephant Seal. Along with Hua Yang's angry shout, the ground began to tremble slightly, and even the people who were standing on the viewing platform could feel it. Even the golden tiles on the palace could be seen falling down, making clanging sounds. This is all money, the stingy emperor is going to feel heartache. Gotcha. The ground even cracked open. Looking at this scene, Gu Haoran's mouth twitched slightly. Is this Sanju Hall planning to destroy the palace? He has really gone crazy. If father wakes up, he will definitely be angered to death. The palace is his blood, and just now, this Huayang already fainted from anger. If he were to do a few more times, he will definitely pass out from anger. Crown Prince, we shouldn't stay here for long. Zhang Jing, who was standing at the side, said in a low voice. If these two big Do masters were to fight, the palace would be very dangerous. They wouldn't care about where this place is. Gu Haoran felt that what Zhang Jing said was true and left with Zhang Jing. As for Gu Cha, he also felt that it is too dangerous to stay here, so he quickly left. Along with the departure of the two princes, everyone else also left one after another. They didn't want to die with the two princes. As for Qingye and the others, they were still standing at the same spot looking at the situation below. No matter how beautiful the beauties were, these people still didn't come over. After all, life is more precious. Even Gu Haoran didn't care about these four women. It could be seen that in his heart, life is more important than anything else. Qing Yutong smiled and said, these people are really afraid of death, such a small movement and they are already scared away. Not afraid? Could it be that they want to stay behind and die? This person's sword can be considered as helping, truly an idiot. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly. It was very obvious that the seal was shaking. Madam, the seal is already very loose, do you want Daji to make a move? Daji, who was at the side, asked respectfully, seemingly wanting to seal the seal again. Qingye shook her head. She suspected that Daji was her husband's long-lost subordinate, thus she still wanted to see the situation. Forget it, let's release them and have a look. Qingye said faintly. Qing Yutong gave a thumbs up. Big sister is awesome. Release them and have a look. Qingye's tone was just like releasing a monkey, extremely relaxed. If these four big sisters were to gather together, who wouldn't be able to defeat them? Gotcha. Cracks began to appear on the ground around Daji's feet. Across the entire palace, cracks of varying degrees appeared on the ground, and they were spreading in all directions. Huayang, although we don't put these empires in our eyes, aren't you too arrogant to tear down other people's houses? It's not good for your three absolute palaces' reputation. Chu Yuxuan's strength was still not enough, so he didn't feel the movement under his feet. Huayang's hands were still stuck in the ground, and his head was slightly lowered. Bang! Chu Yuxuan narrowed his eyes and shouted at Huayang, are you crazy? Do you really want to be destroyed by someone else's palace? A very large crack could be seen appearing on the ground, and many buildings were beginning to collapse. Qingye and the others were floating in the air, and the palace behind them had already collapsed. The emperor will definitely be angered to death. Qing Yutong muttered as she looked down at the entire imperial palace. She discovered that the middle part of the imperial palace had already collapsed, and the remaining parts that didn't collapse were the outer parts of the imperial palace. Fortunately, those people ran away quickly, otherwise they wouldn't have been able to escape. However, many palace maids and imperial bodyguards were killed by the falling stones. If the few women were to fly a bit higher, they would be able to see. The entire Azure Dragon Empire was a huge seal, and the imperial palace was the seal. From this point, it could be seen that this seal had existed for a very long time. After all, even if Azure Dragon Empire wasn't built in recent years, it would still have a history of several thousand years. From this point, it could be seen that this seal had existed for at least several thousand years. At this moment, Huayang slightly raised his head and looked towards Chu Yuxuan. Chu Yuxuan's expression tensed up, and he suddenly leaped backwards. This Huayang only had his eyeballs left. Clear Heart Spell. Chu Yuxuan formed a hand seal with one hand and cast a spell onto Huayang's body. BFFF. When the Clear Heart spell landed on Huayang's body, it was as if it was a fart, there was no reaction at all. This caused Chu Yuxuan to feel even more heavy, and he felt that the current Huayang was no longer the same Huayang. Could it be that he used some kind of forbidden technique? It shouldn't be. This Huayang is indeed a bit weak, but he wouldn't do something like that. Then there is only one possibility. He has been possessed. Meanwhile, Chu Yuxuan's attention was attracted by the ice sword in Huayang's hand. A tentacle-like black fog could be seen emerging from the ground and flowing towards Huayang along the body of the ice sword. If one didn't observe carefully, it would be very hard to notice such a situation. Demon-rending cry. Chu Yuxuan didn't dare to be careless. He held the ice sword with both of his hands above his head, and a burst of irritable chi condensed on the edge of the ice sword. The ice sword let out a light cry, and a woman suddenly opened her bloody mouth. And this bloody mouth was the edge of the ice sword. Chu Yuxuan could be seen slashing towards Huayang, and astral wind wantonly flew out. Clang. When the two weapons collided, a huge shockwave was produced, and the entire palace was already on the verge of collapse. The emperor is definitely going to be angered to death. GGG. Huayang could be heard letting out a strange laugh. Huayang raised the ice sword with his right hand, and his entire right hand gave people a feeling of softness, as if he didn't use any strength at all. Looking at the strange Huayang, Chu Yuxuan's pupils gradually shrunk, and his left hand pressed onto the back of the ice sword. Boundless lightning. A bolt of lightning struck onto Huayang's body, and Qin Yutong could even see Huayang's bones. GGG. Huayang didn't have any reaction at all, and just stared fixedly at Chu Yuxuan. Chu Yuxuan hurriedly leaped backwards and pulled apart the distance between them. This Huayang has changed. Huayang, who was laughing, suddenly disappeared, and this caused Chu Yuxuan to turn pale with fright. At this moment, Chu Yuxuan couldn't care so much anymore. He fully unleashed the strength of a peak stage battle king, and his powerful battle chi covered the entire palace. As expected of a peak stage battle king. Furthermore, he is such a young peak stage battle king, he will definitely be a rare talent in the future. However, this talent is currently facing a threat to his life. Chu Yuxuan was able to sense that Huayang was right beside him, but he was just unable to sense Huayang's aura. This kind of situation was just like before. Chu Yuxuan was toying with Huayang, and now it became Huayang toying with Chu Yuxuan. Come out from me. Chu Yuxuan shouted out angrily, and a frightening battle chi burst out from his body, seemingly wanting to break through from Battle King to Battle Emperor. Undying technique, Blood Tide. Chu Yuxuan finally used his killing move, which was the broken ancient scroll that he obtained when he was 6 years old, and the scroll was called Undying Technique. After mastering the scroll, one would be invincible, and being invulnerable was just a simple matter. And now, just by practicing a little bit of the scroll, it was already incomparably powerful. A blood tide could be seen gushing out from behind Chu Yuxuan, and the blood tide pounced onto the ground. Chu Yuxuan's surroundings were filled with blood tide, and this blood tide was a bit strange. It seemed to be bubbling as if it was boiling. Suddenly, within the blood tide, a blood hand actually formed and grabbed towards the air. The blood hand even directly grabbed towards the air, and the blood tide seemed as if it was going to pierce through the heaven and earth. This tattered ancient scroll was indeed awesome. End of this chapter. Chapter 820. Suddenly, that blood hand seemed to have grabbed onto something, and Huayang's figure instantly appeared. Huayang's left leg was firmly grabbed onto by that blood hand. Chu Yuxuan sneered, and both of his hands began to change. The blood tide instantly turned into even more blood hands and charged towards Huayang. Huayang was immediately subdued by the blood hands. His 4 limbs were pulled by the blood hands, and his neck was also shackled by the blood hands. Huayang. Even if you are possessed by something, you are still no match for me, Chu Yuxuan. The current Chu Yuxuan was filled with heroism. The blood tide actually rose into the air and transformed into a blood sword that was emitting a terrifying Do Qi. Such a technique had long surpassed the realm of Do Wang and had reached the realm of Do Huang. The 4 women in the air were also discussing in low voices. Qin Yutong expressed that this Chu Yuxuan was indeed quite capable. If he is given the space to develop, he will indeed become a very powerful person in the future. Such a technique is also quite powerful. Dong Huang Baiji said lightly and gave a very high evaluation, especially towards the undying technique. Qin Ye silently nodded her head. This technique is indeed powerful. To have such an achievement at such a young age, it is indeed not easy. Actually, that person is also not bad, he is just a bit unlucky. Qin Yutong laughed lightly. That Huayang was also a well-known figure in the younger generation, but just like a lot of side characters, he was unable to shake the main character's luck. Even if he was possessed by something, he was still instantly killed by the main character. A vivid portrayal of a tragedy. The huge blood sword that was formed from the blood tide had already condensed, and the tip of the sword was pointed towards the middle of Huayang's eyebrows. Chu Yuxuan shouted coldly, "Huayang, I originally didn't want to kill you. After all, with you around I can still show off my strength, but who asked you to go crazy? If that's the case, don't blame me." Along with Chu Yuxuan's finger moving, the huge blood sword attacked towards Huayang. The 4 women at the side didn't have the intention to make a move, because sometimes, side characters would also bully the main character. Otherwise, how could the main character become strong? The blood sword could be seen suddenly stopping at the middle of Hua Yang's eyebrows. And Hua Yang's frightened expression suddenly changed. He was actually laughing. This was a type of mockery. Just now, Chu Yuxuan was also pretending, and now Hua Yang was also pretending. You. Seeing Hua Yang's disdainful smile, Chu Yuxuan was very shocked. GGG. As Hua Yang let out a creepy laugh, the bloody hands that were wrapped around his body instantly broke apart and turned into a rain of blood. He actually threw out the ice sword in his hand, the tip of the sword whistling through the air towards Chu Yuxuan. Chu Yuxuan's eyes narrowed. He did not dare to be careless. Blood walls condensed in front of him. Bang! The ice sword directly pierced through the first blood wall, and its momentum didn't decrease at all. It directly pierced through the second blood wall. Bang bang bang. With Hua Yang's light flick, Chu Yuxuan's 10 blood walls collapsed one by one. Chu Yuxuan couldn't believe what he was seeing. This was the first time he had used this trump card against an enemy, but he had been completely crushed. Chu Yuxuan turned pale with fright and hurriedly dodged. The ice sword slid across Chu Yuxuan's left shoulder. His flesh was instantly cut open, revealing his white bones. The blood tide also dissipated at this moment. Chu Yuxuan immediately took out a pill and swallowed it. His eyes were still filled with shock. Suddenly, a black shadow appeared in front of him. Chu Yuxuan didn't even need to think to know who it was. Bang! Chu Yuxuan's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. He punched himself in the stomach. A wave of dou qi instantly spread out. Chu Yuxuan's body flew out like a cannonball, knocking down the palace that was on the verge of collapse. As for Chu Yuxuan himself, he fell in the middle of the ruins. He no longer had the imposing aura he had before. He was directly knocked down by a single punch. Hua Yang unhurriedly floated towards Chu Yuxuan. He even turned his head and looked at the 4 women in the sky, as if saying, "Wait for me to take care of this one, then I'll take care of you all." Step by step, Hua Yang walked towards Chu Yuxuan, who was on the verge of death. The latter opened his weak eyes and looked at Hua Yang. He never thought that he would be beaten like a dog by Hua Yang. How infuriating. Standing beside Chu Yuxuan, Hua Yang pointed the ice sword in his hand at Chu Yuxuan. Chu Yuxuan spat out a mouthful of blood and said with a smile, "Hua Yang, you're lucky today. You borrowed the strength of others to defeat me. But next time it's definitely impossible. Bye-bye." After finished speaking, the hand that Chu Yuxuan hid behind his back crushed a piece of jade. As a smart person, how could he not have a method to escape? Hua Yang fiercely stabbed the ice sword in his hand towards Chu Yuxuan. However, Chu Yuxuan disappeared first, and the ice sword directly stabbed into the ruins. The huge tremor caused the entire palace to completely collapse. Roar! Hua Yang roared out with unwillingness. Meanwhile, Chu Yuxuan, who disappeared, appeared in the south of Kangluo continent. He was lying beside a lake. The moonlight shone onto the surface of the lake, presenting a beautiful scene. La 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 la, a child was running while holding onto a handmade windmill, completely ignoring Chu Yuxuan. Afterward, Hua Yang stepped on the wound on Chu Yuxuan's left arm. Chu Yuxuan, who had fainted, immediately woke up. The child fell onto the ground. Being frightened by the man who was covered in blood in front of him, there was no need to think too much. The child immediately cried out loudly and ran towards the thatched cottage at the side while shouting, "Daddy, Mommy, Uncle Skeleton, there's a ghost here." The 3 people in the thatched cottage seemed to have heard the child's cry as well and ran out of the thatched cottage. That's right, this was Long Outyan's family of 3 and Death Assassin. Along with Death Mage's teleportation, Death Assassin also brought Long Outyan's family over and directly appeared in this unfamiliar world. During the first month, everyone was not used to it, even Death Assassin was not used to it. Furthermore, Master was also not able to be contacted. It should be because the distance was too far, unless Master took the initiative to contact me. However, Death Mage seemed to have forgotten about this little brother of his. Very quickly, Long Outyan adapted to it. To begin with, he was already living deep in the mountains, and now that the environment was even better, he was still the same. After sparring with Death Assassin every day, Long Outyan's improvement was quite big. After all, Long Outyan was not someone to be trifled with. His left hand could treat people and his right hand could kill people. "Yang, what happened to you?" Meng Meng hugged onto her son tightly and asked worriedly. Long Outyan pointed towards the lake and shouted, "Mommy, there's a ghost over there." Death Assassin and Long Outyan took a look at each other, then walked towards the lake and discovered Chu Yuxuan, who fainted from pain. "Master, should we save him?" Long Outyan asked curiously. In actuality, he wanted to kill Chu Yuxuan in his heart. After all, Chu Yushuan's family would definitely be chased after by Long Outyen's family. Death Assassin did not say anything and turned around to leave. Long Outyen knew that Death Assassin was letting him make the decision. Turning his head around and taking a look at his wife and son, Long Outyen let out a light sigh. No matter what, I can't kill someone in front of my wife and son, right? End of this chapter. Chapter 821. Save me, save me. It must be said that Chu Yushuan's luck is really good. To be able to teleport right in front of Long Outyen, this Long Outyen's medical skills are quite good. As expected of a man who can fall down a cliff and meet an immortal mansion, his luck is really good. At the scene, the four women looked towards Huayang, who was roaring in anger, a bit confused. This Huayang seems to really want to get rid of Chu Yushuan. Madams, although this person is being controlled, what he does is subconscious. Daji seemed to understand, thus she voiced out her confusion. No wonder Huayang wanted to play around with Chu Yushuan. It was because Chu Yushuan also played around with him at the start. This can be counted as slapping Chu Yushuan's face, taking revenge. Huayang, who was below, slightly raised his head and stared at the four women in the sky, then immediately disappeared and reappeared not far away from the four women. GGG. When Qing Yutong heard this strange laughter, she laughed. Should I look for Death Mage to translate for me? Qingya and Donghuang Baiji laughed but did not say anything. If it was before, they would feel that this was a strange laughter, but now, this was definitely not a laughter, this was a language, at least this was how Death Mage spoke. Madam, let Daji fight, don't dirty the hands of the madams. Daji agreed. As a maid, she naturally had to help her master. Qingya nodded her head and did not reject Daji's kind intentions. Big sister, don't worry, Daji is very strong. Qing Yutong said softly. How did you know? I guessed. Ehe, do you think that your big sister is an idiot? Qingya rolled her eyes at her little sister. Since young, her little sister has always liked to lie to me. Qing Yutong immediately acted coquettishly as she held onto her big sister's arm and shook it. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji felt helpless. Originally, they wanted to marry Qing Yutong to Yi Hua, that way she would become more mature, but who knew that she would not change at all. Looking at Daji walking forward, Qingya and the others retreated quite a bit, in order to not disturb the battle between the two. Right now, inside one residence, Yi Hua and Wan Yi were sitting beside the pond fishing, and there was a small bottle of wine placed at the side. Yi Hua didn't bother about his wives. After all, just letting them take a breather and something happened to them. This is truly a bit interesting. The thing that is sealed beneath the Azure Dragon Empire is indeed a bit interesting. Brother ? Something might have happened in the Imperial Palace. Should we go and take a look? Wan Yi couldn't help but ask worriedly. Yi Huamin took a sip of the wine and said, don't worry, no one will bully them. It's good enough that they don't bully others. What if his acting was a little exaggerated? How could Sister be bullied? I'm really curious about what's happening in the palace. There must be a fight going on. I can feel a huge amount of battle chi. However, Yi Hua was currently thinking about that sealed thing. Should I let it go out and cause trouble, or should I just kill it? This was a little troublesome. A gust of cold wind blew through the palace. Daji's delicate body stood in the air. Her curvaceous figure was indeed very tempting. Coupled with her veil, she was full of mystery. However, facing such a woman, Huayang didn't feel anything at all. He only wanted to crush this woman's neck. Huayang's body disappeared in an instant. Just like before, it was impossible to catch him. However, that was only against Chu Yushuan. This orange card Daji was no joke. He could really die. Daji, who was under the veil, was as cold as ice. In this world, only a man like my master is worthy to see my smile. The rest of the men are all salted fish. Daji suddenly stretched out her arm. Her 5 slender fingers formed into claws, and without any hesitation, she clawed towards the air. The air even gave off a sonic boom. Just when Huayang, who was moving at high speed, wanted to dodge, a suction force pulled him towards himself. Rather than saying that he was grabbed, it would be better to say that he stretched out his neck and got sucked into that hand. Qingya laughed. Daji is indeed very formidable. And very formidable. Donghuang Baiji also praised. Qing Yutong thought in her heart. That person has an orange card, how could he not be formidable? That person nurtured this orange card for more than 10 years, and in the end he was taken advantage of by brother-in-law. Such a thing happens to me, I can just go and kill myself. Daji turned her head around and looked towards Huayang, and her pair of beautiful eyes suddenly changed. Her eyes turned into a fox's eyes, and this made Huayang forget to struggle. A strand of black fog left Hua Yang's body and quickly drilled into the crack. Daji ignored the black fog, and Hua Yang, who was in her hand, returned back to normal. Looking at how his neck was being grabbed by a beautiful woman, Hua Yang didn't feel good at all. What happened just now? Why did I forget everything? Beautiful woman, Before Hua Yang could finish speaking, Daji swung her right hand, and Hua Yang was like an object that fell from the sky, smashing into the ruins and fainting. This kind of trash, I shouldn't disturb him. Daji looked at the cracked ground. Just now I felt that the seal had disappeared. Is it coming out? Qingye, Donghuang Baiji and Qing Yutong were very excited. Just what is being sealed, and it is very strong. It can't really be Yi Hua's subordinate, right? If I were to help Yi Hua find his long-lost subordinate, it can be counted as a meritorious deed. At that time, during the commendation ceremony, I will also be able to publicly praise my wife. Every time I hold a commendation ceremony, I would never praise my wife. I have never seen such a stingy man. Would it kill me to praise my wife? I cook and wash clothes for you every single day. It's coming? Daji lightly spat out. Suddenly, a large amount of black tentacles could be seen gushing out from the crack. These tentacles didn't seem to be real material, and they seemed to be formed from black mist. Black mist gushed out from the entire imperial palace. When some of the imperial guards and palace maids saw this situation, they desperately ran away. However, they were instantly grabbed onto by the black tentacles and dragged into the crack, and after that, the black tentacles no longer made any sounds. Qing Yutong cried out in surprise, "Ultraman! This is definitely an extremely big Ultraman." This time, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji did not refuse. Looking at the situation, the black tentacles indeed seemed to be an extremely big Ultraman. After all, the entire imperial palace was covered by the black tentacles, and it was extremely terrifying. Gradually, those black tentacles seemed to have gained a life of their own, and they knew how to crawl on their own. However, Qingye discovered that those black tentacles were all moving towards a single point. Sure enough, it was just like what Qingye had guessed. All of the black matter were moving towards a single point, and the black matter seemed to be moving towards a single point. Such a huge black matter, from Qingye's perspective at the very least, it should be an extremely huge fellow. However, on the contrary, those black matter were gradually compressing, and in the end, they formed into the size of a normal person. Daji looked at the humanoid figure that was not far away from her, and the black mist that was covering her body gradually fell off, revealing her true form. For women, 4 pairs of beautiful eyes stared fixedly at the humanoid figure. The women's gossipy hearts were ignited. After all, that humanoid figure looked so powerful, why was it sealed here? End of this chapter. Chapter 822. As the black mist fell off, a masculine body was exposed in the air. This was a man. Furthermore, he was an extremely handsome man. His silver hair slowly floated behind his head, his limbs were slender, his eyes were calm, and his expression was as calm as still water. Black armor gradually condensed on the man's body. In an instant, it covered his entire body, leaving only his head. A black spear appeared in his right hand. Such a man. He was clad in black armor, and his silver hair fluttered in the wind. Heavens, too cool. Qing Yutong mumbled, this kind of pretentiousness, he is almost catching up to brother-in-law. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji nodded their heads. What Qing Yutong said is absolutely right, this man's temperament is almost catching up to Yi Hua's. It seems like he doesn't put anyone in his eyes at all. It was as though he could destroy everything with a wave of his hand. His aura was just like a torrential river. This was what was truly terrifying. This person is very strong, Qingye said gravely. For Qingye to say that he is very strong, then he must be really strong. Qing Yutong also stopped smiling. Big sister, this man is indeed very strong. Do you want to go and call brother-in-law? Don't call him all the time. We need to save face too. Donghuang Baiji pouted her mouth. I am not a vase, I can also provide help to my husband. If I have to call out Yi Hua every time I am in danger, I would really become a vase that only knows how to satisfy a man on the bed. Sister Baiji, there's nothing wrong with your words. Let me try. Qing Yutong was already impatient. Ever since the system opened up all of the things in the shopping mall, I still haven't tried them out yet. When Daji heard this, she said respectfully, Madam, just leave it to me. Daji, be obedient and let me fight this time. It wasn't easy for me to come across a strong opponent. If I don't fight, my hands would be itching. Seems like Qing Yutong was also infected by Yi Hua and became battle-hungry. Daji looked at Qingya and Donghuang Baiji. Seems like in Daji's heart, these two are the main concubines. Seeing that the two main palace ladies had acquiesced, Daji retreated and stood behind. Right now, Qing Yutong slowly descended and stood in front of the man. And the man silently looked at Qing Yutong, who was descending. "Handsome, are you alone?" Qing Yutong asked curiously. The man's pair of eyes that were as calm as water did not have a single ripple, and even when facing a woman like Qing Yutong, he did not have a single bit of astonishment. "Miss, I have no intention of harming you. Please go back," the man said softly. His voice was very pleasant to listen to, with a bit of magnetism and charm. It was not an exaggeration to say that he was a girl killer. The four women heard the man's words. If it was in the past, they would definitely think that he was pretending. But facing this man, the four women felt that he was speaking very seriously because he had that kind of strength. "Don't you want to hurt me?" Qing Yutong asked curiously. After finished speaking, Qingya felt that what Qingya said was a bit weird. Qingya wished that she could knock on her little sister's head. "Can't you use your brain before speaking?" However, the man didn't seem to think that much and said softly, "There's no need for that." Qing Yutong was a little displeased. In any case, Daji was still watching, and if I, the wife, were to be defeated, it would be a loss of face. Not only did she embarrass herself, but she also embarrassed her brother-in-law. "Then can you tell me who you are? Why was he sealed here?" Qing Yutong asked curiously. Such a powerful person, it was important to ask about his background. The man seemed to be puzzled for a moment, then sunk into his memories. After quite a while, the man said, "I forgot." The corner of Qing Yutong's mouth twitched. This is still a handsome guy who doesn't have any memories? Then, do you still remember what you are called? Qing Yutong was not willing to give up and asked again. This time the man blurted out, "Su Diao." Hearing these two names, the four women felt that it was very strange. "Su Diao? Is he my husband's subordinate? Because I feel that he has that kind of strength. Do you still remember what you are? Or are you someone's subordinate?" Qing Yutong asked again. "I remember that back then Yi Zizi told me that back then she had also forgotten about it, and that was why she fought with her brother-in-law and suffered a crushing defeat. Subordinate?" Su Diao laughed lightly, seemingly feeling that it was very funny. "I am a guardian," Su Diao said casually. When this sentence came out, it was as if the entire imperial palace was lifted up by someone, then pressed down fiercely. Even the temperature of the air rose by quite a bit. Qing Yutong's originally relaxed beautiful face also became heavy. Even the three women in the sky were the same. The entire Azure Dragon Empire seemed to have been enveloped by a powerful Duki. Yi Hua, who was currently fishing, slowly opened his eyes, then turned his head around and looked towards the direction of the imperial palace. "Brother?" One Yuan also felt this terrifying pressure. "Look, all the fishes in the pond are flipping over." Yi Hua did not say anything, took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. "It is good to let these women suffer a loss. There is always someone stronger than you. However, I have to let them suffer a loss. After all, these women are not to be trifled with." Yi Hua leaned on the bamboo chair, looked at the starry sky and breathed out a lump of smoke. "There are quite a lot of powerful individuals in this world. I wonder which power this person belongs to." Within the imperial palace, Qing Yutong became very careful because the person in front of her was really very strong. At least, he was the strongest person that I have ever met. "You are a guardian? What are you guarding? Why are you sealed?" Qing Yutong questioned. From this point, it could be seen that this Su Diao was not brother-in-law's subordinate, but rather some guardian. When Su Diao heard Qing Yutong's question, he seemed to have sunk into deep thought again, then said gravely, "I don't know." Qingya, who was flying in the sky, said doubtfully, "I heard from Yi Hua that the different races are being chased by the humans, and this person is also a different race, but why is he a guardian? Furthermore, why is he so strong?" "I don't know." Donghuang Baiji also used the same tone to say that she didn't know. "Daji, do you know?" Qingya asked Daji. Daji said respectfully, "Madam, Daji has never heard of a guardian either." Donghuang Baiji said gravely, "Since he is a guardian, then he is definitely guarding something or someone. From the strength of this guardian, it can be seen that the thing that he is guarding is definitely very strong." Donghuang Baiji's deduction caused Qingya to nod her head. This kind of person is very pitiful. This guardian is probably the most formidable person that has ever appeared in the world. At the very least, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji felt that this guardian is the most formidable person that has ever appeared in the world. Su Diao took a look at Qing Yutong, then turned around, seemingly not wanting to have any contact with Qing Yutong. "Wait a moment, we have not fought yet," Qing Yutong hurriedly shouted. However, at the same time that Qing Yutong shouted, the system suddenly appeared. "Master, this person is very strong, you have to be careful when dealing with him. Even the system has reminded me to be careful, so Qing Yutong wouldn't be careless. Give me a weapon that has the thickest defense and the strongest attack. In any case, today is my Qing Yutong's first battle. I have something on today, so I came late. I apologize to everyone." End of chapter. Chapter 823. "All right, master, I will immediately put it on for you." Qing Yutong could be seen opening up both of her arms and carrying an intoxicated smile, seemingly wanting to shock everyone. What happened next was indeed shocking enough. A huge mecha warrior could be seen emerging from the mecha. The mecha warrior was holding onto an enormous glowing axe with both of its hands, and Qing Yutong was currently in the cockpit. Everyone, Qing Yutong was also stupefied. The defense is thick enough and the weapon is thick enough. Can you give me a more normal one? Qing Yutong rolled her eyes and said. Luckily, only my family members are here today and there is no one else. All right, master. The huge mecha warrior instantly disappeared, and Qing Yutong landed on the ground. She was wearing a red skin-tight armor that wrapped around her alluring body, and there was nothing wrong with her curvaceous body. Especially that perky, but Yi Hua loved to pat it the most. Meanwhile, in Qing Yutong's hands, there was a pink glowing stick. Qing Yutong's face immediately darkened. What did you give me? An electric stick. Master, have you ever seen such a long electric stick before? Aya, you still dare to talk back to me. Master, this set of armor is the most popular in recent years. It is made using an unknown metal, and it is able to be carried and is beautiful. It is specially made for beautiful ladies, and this glowing and long electric stick, no lightsaber, is also a product that was researched recently. Believe in the system will not lie to you. Qing Yutong was speechless. Seeing that Su Jiao was about to leave, she didn't have much time to think and immediately took the electric stick and slashed towards Su Jiao. However, in just an instant, the lightsaber emitted out a terrifying light, and the entire Azure Dragon Empire seemed as if it was going to be illuminated. The terrifying aura struck towards the top of Su Jiao's head, causing the silver hair on his back to flutter crazily. Seeing this situation, Qing Yutong didn't blame the system anymore. This electric stick is indeed very powerful. It is almost catching up to brother-in-law's treasures. Qingya, where did your sister get so many strange things? Donghuang Baiji, who was standing in the air, asked curiously. I don't know. Qingya said gravely. I feel that my sister has always been very mysterious. Just now, she actually made such a huge mecha, making me feel as if I have transmigrated. When I return, I must interrogate her properly. She is really hiding everything from Big Sister. When Daji saw her wife's heroic bearing, she was also impressed. Master's wife was indeed impressive. And on the stage, Qing Yutong's delicate body leaped high up into the air, and her powerful aura spread out crazily. And Su Jiao stopped his footsteps, then turned around to face Qing Yutong with a kind of strange posture. Qing Yutong looked at that handsome face, and her expression became even heavier, because this man was just like her brother-in-law. He didn't have any excessive reaction at all. But right now there was no other way to think of. Qing Yutong ruthlessly hacked down. Boom boom boom. 1/3 of the entire imperial palace suddenly collapsed. However, this was only the collapse of the surrounding areas, and the soles of Su Ying's feet were still intact. How is this possible? Qingya cried out. Although Donghuang Baiji didn't say anything, she was also shocked. It was the same for Daji. Su Jiao raised his left hand and grabbed the pink electric stick. The dragon claw-like gloves and the electric baton emitted crackling sounds of thunder and lightning, but it was still easily caught by Su Jiao. Qing Yutong's entire person didn't feel good, and she shouted crazily in her heart, System, is this the strongest or not? Master, this is really the strongest. It's not that the system isn't strong, it's that the opponent is too strong. Qing Yutong, I've said it before. I don't want to fight. Su Jiao let go of the electric baton and said slowly, as if he was giving Qing Yutong a final warning. Qing Yutong was angry. Ever since I have the system, when have I ever been looked down upon like this? Furthermore, after I followed brother-in-law, no one dared to look down upon me, everyone was respectful towards me. And right now, there is actually a person who disdains to fight with me. Furthermore, he is even looking down on me. Purple and green 7 kills. Qing Yutong was angry. Looking down on me is equivalent to looking down on brother-in-law. How can I do that? Brother-in-law, don't be afraid. Sister-in-law will help you regain back your face. This purple and green 7 kills is known to be one of the strongest martial skills in the system. It will definitely be able to injure me. Qing Yutong could be seen thrusting his sword out in a ghostly manner. The electric baton in Qing Yutong's hand shone brightly, and the electric baton soared straight into the clouds. However, this was only the first sword. There is still 6 more to go. Su Diao's expression sunk, and with a flip of his hand, he grabbed onto the electric baton. His speed was so fast that it made one speechless. This kind of speed was much faster than Qing Yutong's by a lot. As expected of a man with fast hand speed, he definitely has an advantage in battle. This sword attack of Qing Yutong's was very terrifying, but looking at the other party grabbing onto the electric baton, Qing Yutong's entire body didn't feel good. This is blatantly looking down on me, to the point where he doesn't even need to use any techniques to deal with me. A strong wave of air immediately spread out, and Su Diao's left hand tightly grabbed onto the electric baton. Even if Qing Yutong wanted to pull away, the strength of the other party was too great, and there was basically no way for her to do so. I have already said it, why didn't you listen to me? Su Diao slowly raised his head and looked towards Qing Yutong, then swung his left hand backwards. Qing Yutong shouted out loudly, and her delicate body was like an intercontinental missile, crashing into the entrance from the center of the palace, and the entire place was instantly filled with dust. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were a little dumbfounded. This man's strength is already beyond our imagination. He is able to shake Qing Yutong off with just a single hand. He is not just ordinary formidable. It can be said that he is very, very formidable. Qing Yutong, who was within the ruins, felt dizzy from the fall. Luckily, I am wearing this kind of armor. If not, I would have really lost face. Patting off the dust on her body, Qing Yutong lightly leaped and once again arrived in front of Su Diao, then used Doom's eyes. Fight again. I am going to kill you. Su Diao's tone finally changed, and it was now filled with overflowing killing intent, as if Qing Yutong was his enemy. Qingya, don't let Yutong act recklessly. Donghuang Baiji said gravely. This Su Diao has already surpassed her by too much, and I even feel that he is not using his full strength at all. Qingya also knew about this, and she shouted out towards her little sister, Yutong, come back. Don't mess around. Qing Yutong was unwilling to accept this. My first battle actually ended in defeat. If brother-in-law were to know about this, I will definitely become a laughing stock. However, I still have an ultimate technique that I have yet to use, or perhaps I should change my weapon and use it to counter his weapon. Qing Yutong frantically thought of a way, but she was not sure. If I were to use that ultimate technique, it would be rather terrifying. Should I let him off first? Qingya and Donghuang Baiji had no other choice but to descend and capture Su Diao. Qing Yutong shouted out, don't pull me, I can fight, let go, I want to fight one-on-one. While provoking Qing Yutong was being dragged away by her big sister. Su Diao looked at the few women and did not chase after them. Instead, he turned around and walked towards the entrance of the palace. End of this chapter. Chapter 824. Qing Yutong covered her face with her hand. Just now, I lost my face and it was so embarrassing. If it wasn't for Big Sister stepping forward, I wouldn't have been able to get out of this embarrassing situation. Who asked you to show off? Now you've made a fool of yourself. Qingya said snappily. Her brows were tightly wrinkled as she looked at the back view of Yi Hua. Perhaps only Yi Hua would be able to defeat Yi Hua. Qingya, don't blame Yutong anymore. It seems that we aren't a match for her. Donghuang Baiji teased. It was unknown whether she was joking or not. After all, within Qingya and Donghuang Baiji's body, there were bloodline effects. Furthermore, they were two different types of bloodlines, and Qing Yutong did not have this kind of advantage. Sigh, I will definitely be criticized by Yi Hua when I return. Qingya said helplessly. Donghuang Baiji said with a smile, don't you all know about Yi Hua? He knew about it long ago, but he just didn't come. It seems like he wants to see us make a fool of ourselves. This man just loves to bully us. Qingya laughed lightly. Looking at that black back view, her eyebrows tightly wrinkled. Just what kind of guardian was this person? He was so powerful. Yutong's performance just now was already very abnormal, but this man was even more powerful. It was too strange. After all, it was even more difficult to explain why such a person was sealed. Daji, what are your chances of winning against him? Qingya asked curiously. Daji was silent for a moment, then said, 40%. That was Daji's conservative estimate. In actuality, in Qingya and Donghuang Baiji's hearts, they only had a score of 5 out of 5, and that was only a conservative estimate. After all, right now, they were still unclear of this man's true strength. This caused Qingya and Donghuang Baiji to recall the masked man back then. Absolute heaven. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji felt that Su Diao and Zhu Tian would be able to fight against each other. As for the outcome of the fight, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were not sure. For Su Diao to be able to fight against Yihua's 7 deadly sins, it could be seen that Su Diao was truly powerful. This kind of strength did not depend on the innate talent of Nan Wuqi's race. It was unreasonably strong. Let's go back first and see what Yihua has to say, Qingya said tenderly. Meeting with such a powerful fellow, I can only rely on my husband. I really have no choice. Qing Yutong said with a crying face. That big sister Baiji, help me keep this a secret, it's too shameful. You still know how to lose face? Later on, when we go back, you have to properly explain to me why you came up with so many strange things. Qingya pinched onto her little sister's cheek. Alright, Yutong promises to be honest. Qing Yutong said helplessly. In her heart, she was in a bad mood as well. In fact, Qing Yutong could still fight if she wanted to, but if she really fought, the innocent commoners of the Azure Dragon Empire might suffer a calamity, so she didn't continue to fight. After all, this kind of fight would affect a very wide range. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji had also considered this problem. Thus, they did not continue to pester him. After all, if he wanted to win, he would have to unleash his ultimate move. Once he unleashed his ultimate move, the entire Azure Dragon Empire would be wiped out. Besides, it's not like the other party wants to fight me and there isn't any deep hatred between me and the other party. On the other side, Yihua stood up and walked towards the door. Brother ? Where are you going? Wani asked curiously. I'm going out for a walk. Let me know when they come back. Alright, leave it to me. Yihua walked out of Wan residence and walked towards the street. Not long after Yihua left, Qingya and the others returned. Wani, where's my man? Qingya looked at the empty bamboo chair and asked curiously. Sister ? Brother ? Just went out for a while, he told me to inform you all. Wani said respectfully. The 3 women revealed an as expected expression, while Daji had a worried expression on her face. However, when she thought about how powerful her master was, she felt slightly better. To be able to become her master, that person must definitely be very powerful. Yihua walked on the street of the Azure Dragon Empire. A lot of people were standing on the street and looking towards the palace. Because a rumbling sound came from the palace just now, a lot of people didn't know what happened and were currently whispering to each other. A man dressed in black armor appeared on the street and walked towards the restaurant at the side. Soon after, the man sat on the wooden table, ordered a pot of hot wine and started drinking silently. Yihua walked into the restaurant unhurriedly, looked towards the man, then sat opposite to the man. The 2 of them who seemed to be able to destroy the world were sitting beside a wooden table. This was a bit unimaginable. The man sensed Yihua's arrival, but he still continued sipping on his wine. Yihua didn't say anything and continued smoking his cigarette. Towards a powerful opponent, Yihua still showed respect. At the very least, he let the man drink this pot of hot wine. Gradually, Su Diao finished drinking the wine, then said gravely, You are very powerful. You're not bad too. Yihua said faintly. Those 4 ladies are your wives, right? Su Diao asked faintly. 3, one of them is my maid. Yihua said faintly. The 2 cold men sitting together attracted a lot of attention. Even if the ladies didn't want to drink wine, they still came in and sat down. Those 2 men were very handsome, but they had different styles. One was dressed in armor, and the other was dressed in a gorgeous robe, and the other was dressed in a natural and unrestrained style. This made the ladies very confused, just who was more handsome. Some of them who liked the temptation of the armor looked at Su Diao, while some of them who liked the unrestrained style looked at Yihua. Afterward, all of them revealed an expression of infatuation. Even if there were a lot of people running outside and some of them were even panicking, these ladies all wanted to look at the handsome man. Your wives are very powerful. Su Diao gave a very high evaluation. Under my attack, the 2 of them were able to remain completely unscathed. The 2 of them were already able to obtain my respect. Yihua said indifferently, they are just like that, they are still able to beat up kittens and puppies. If Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were to hear what Yihua said, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji would definitely fly into a rage. Don't go to bed, sleep on the floor. Plain Eagle paused for a moment and then stood up. Did I allow you to leave? Yihua said faintly. What do you want? Su Jiao looked towards Yihua, and his tone was still as calm as before. There wasn't any sign of him being angered. Yihua said calmly, I can see that your skills are not bad. My team needs a talent like you. Sorry, I don't want to join any of the teams you mentioned, Su Jiao said softly. *CKME. This was the first time they had invited someone to join their team, and they had actually been rejected. What big guts you have. If it wasn't for the fact that I cherish talents, I would have made a move long ago. After all, Su Jiao's style met the requirements. He wasn't the type of player who liked to show off. He was a normal person. Do you know that this is a sign of disrespect towards me? Yihua's tone gradually became deep. I know, but I don't want to join. Yihua was a bit annoyed. This guy is really not giving me any face at all. Compete? Yihua said in a deep voice. All right. Su Jiao slowly sat down. The two men stared at each other with their eyes wide open. End of this chapter. Chapter 825. The atmosphere at the scene was a little stifling, as if a single spark could set the entire place ablaze. When the women present saw such men looking at each other, they were a little sad. They really wished that they could sit opposite them and be looked at like this. Furthermore, he was afraid that if they looked at each other like this, they would suddenly do something crazy. That would be really scary. Just like a sudden kiss, Yihua looked at the plain sculpture. Su Jiao looked at Yihua. Yihua didn't expect that this man would actually be able to act normal under my gaze. If it were his subordinates, they would have lowered their heads long ago, not daring to look him in the eye. However, this man could actually hold on for so long. He was indeed amazing. Su Jiao's current performance caused Yihua to be a bit surprised. After all, it was hard to find a strong opponent, and for such a strong opponent to suddenly appear, Yihua was quite interested in him. Recently, my luck is really quite good. Not only is it a maid, but it's also a powerful opponent. Please give me a dozen of such opponents. You are just playing with me. You don't have the qualifications. Today let me test your strength. At this time, Su Jiao was also very shocked. Although this man had not released any dou qi, he still exuded a sense of oppression. He really was a very powerful man. Seeing the fighting spirit in his opponent's eyes, Su Jiao's heart was also filled with fighting spirit. Only such an opponent would be interesting. What was the point of fighting with a woman? In fact, Su Jiao didn't want to fight with women. In his heart, only men were worthy of fighting on the battlefield. Yihua and Su Jiao could be seen making their moves. The women at the scene let out a shriek, then couldn't help but cover their mouths. What are we doing? On the wooden table, both of them stretched out their right hands at the same time and held each other tightly. To be able to understand each other's thoughts just by communicating with their eyes, as expected of an expert. This was everyone's guess. This was arm wrestling. Yihua looked at Su Jiao with a profound gaze, and while Su Jiao's gaze was as calm as water, the waves in his heart were still very big. This man was so strong. He couldn't move it at all. Meanwhile, Yihua was also very shocked in his heart. My strength is actually unable to move it. The two of them seemed to be useless, but they were already exerting their strength, wanting to bring each other down. Adding on the fact that there wasn't much expression on their faces, this made everyone feel that they were only shaking hands, or perhaps they were only thinking, touch the other party's palm, what an evil pair of men. Back mountain. The arm wrestling continued. If someone were to look closely, they would see that their elbows did not touch the table. Even their postures were very normal. I really should respect you. You are very strong. Su Jiao said lightly. He had never lost to anyone in terms of strength, but today he was unexpectedly unable to put down his opponent. In terms of strength, Yihua felt that only Yi Zizi was stronger than him. However, this man was actually more or less the same as him. This is truly unimaginable and hard to believe. Both of them released their hands at the same time. Yihua said faintly, since you respect me, then join my group. You will be able to obtain better development. I'm sorry, but I still can't agree to your request. I also won't join any team. Su Jiao was just that willful. He spoke those words from his heart. Seems like there's no other way to compete like this. Why don't we change it to something else? Yihua said faintly. Arm wrestling was unable to prove anything, only actual combat could prove one's worth. Su Jiao's fighting spirit was also aroused, and he didn't reject Yihua's proposal. After reaching an agreement, the two of them walked out of the tavern and gradually disappeared into the streets. Two such good-looking men were gone. All the women sighed. Such men could only be found in the sky. Therefore, as long as a man was good-looking, he would similarly be able to enjoy that kind of stunning gazes. Right now, Yi Hua and Su Jiao had already left Azure Dragon Empire and were standing on a piece of land that had already dried up. A light breeze was blowing at the dust, and of course Su Jiao's silver hair was also blowing at the dust. Since you aren't willing to join my group, I reckon that you have already joined another group, right? Yi Hua asked lightly. I forgot, I'm just a guardian. Regarding guardians, Yi Hua still didn't know about them. After all, he wasn't present at the scene, and similarly, he also hadn't heard of guardians. What are you guarding? I don't know. Then what do you know? Yi Hua asked gravely. A guardian is already so powerful, then wouldn't the thing that he is guarding or his boss be even more powerful? Thinking up to here, Yi Hua seemed to have another thought. Su Jiao said lightly, I don't know anything. Meeting a powerhouse that doesn't know anything is indeed a bit of a headache. Then what are you planning to do? I want to go to the place that I want to go. This answer made Yi Hua slightly satisfied. At least I have a destination. Yi Hua could be seen taking out a piece of jade and throwing it to Su Jiao. Su Jiao caught the piece of jade and revealed a puzzled look in his eyes. If you come across something that you can't handle, crush it, I can come over and help you. Yi Hua said faintly. Rather than saying that he was going to help, it would be better to say that he was going over to take a look at what this guardian was guarding. Su Jiao paused for a moment, then kept the piece of jade and said, if there is a need for that. Don't think too much, I still have to test your skills. If not, even if you crush it, I still won't appear. Yi Hua said gravely. Su Jiao waved the black spear in his hand and locked his gaze onto Yi Hua. Then let me see your strength. Yi Hua snorted lightly, then a set of white armor instantly condensed on his body, and a silver spear appeared in his hand. The white armor emitted a bright and resplendent light, seemingly wanting to illuminate the entire night sky. Meanwhile, the silver spear in Yi Hua's hand emitted a dazzling golden light, and there seemed to be golden electric currents that were connected to the spear from the ground. You are indeed stronger than your wife. Su Jiao said gravely while looking at Yi Hua, who was in such a state. The silver spear in Yi Hua's hand pierced straight into the sky, and a huge whirlpool could be seen appearing in the sky. Boom! A golden shield could be seen falling down from the whirlpool, and Yi Hua grabbed onto the shield with his left hand. They are just kind-hearted, that's all. Yi Hua slightly narrowed his eyes, and his battle intent was already surging out. Su Jiao slightly bowed his body and said, I know. The two stared at each other once again and their bodies shot out explosively. The silver spear and black spear collided with each other, and at this moment, the entire world seemed to have become silent. The terrifying battle chi turned into astral winds and swept all over the place. The sky rumbled and lightning flashed. However, only the heavens were the spectators of this battle. After an unknown amount of time, the two men seemed to have stopped fighting. Yi Hua's face was brimming with comfort, as if he had done a rather refreshing warm-up exercise. This Su Jiao is indeed a good sparring partner. My subordinates don't dare to go all out and fight with me anymore. You are truly very strong, I am not your opponent. Su Jiao said lightly. While smoking, Yi Hua said indifferently, Are you trying to flatter me? No, I am just lamenting. End of this chapter. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.